Why are you not in frame?
I am in frame.
He's got his own camera.
You got your own camera?
I have my own camera. That way we get everybody in frame.
What? Yeah,
I don't know. That's why we're on his channel.
That's why we need 2 cameras to get Bucky, me, Brian, you, and your ego. That's what we need.
I needed 2 cameras just to handle my ego.
It's just
salutations, the internet.
Oh.
Hello, everybody.
I literally don't know where the camera is, and I could give less of a shit. Why are you pointing it out?
Oh, sorry.
This is informal.
Glowing.
It's a fireside chat.
Yeah.
What is the picture? Turn. I just want to peek and see what it looks like.
What?
I don't get.
So used
just
to being
Discord.
on the same side of the.
Just Discord.
All is well. Don't worry about it. It's just Discord. So everyone, welcome to this beautiful late summer edition of Talking About Changelings.
Oh, I just opened.
Chatting about Changelings.
Chatting about Changelings.
Literally,
what did I tell you about hard G's?
Literally, I just opened this. This is the first time I touched it. It stayed waiting for this moment.
What is
for
that?
this day. C20.
Oh, it's copy C20. Nice hardcover there. Very nice.
This is all tradition. I have this. I have the same at home. It's you know what I like about it. I like that it looks like a freaking Changeling book on the inside.
It's got the Changeling moth on the front.
So it's a moth. We know. Mothman.
Sorry.
All right, so let's get some order to this chaos.
No, we have to do one thing first.
Okay.
You know who you are. I've apologized. I will apologize again. You will get your items, and if you're watching right now, you
at the new address.
Yeah, at the new address.
Talking about Werewolf's team is we got your back.
And
we got your back.
And you will get a choice of an apology gift. I have some
pieces of flair.
Yeah, some of the original
some real dross.
Some of the original pins from the game. I think this is House Dougal.
That is Dougal.
I got Slua here. This is the she one, the Rose Red. I have no idea. This is a different change.
I have no idea what
so
that is.
if you could throw these in front of the camera, give them a quick
camera,
look, and you get
these books
and those books, 2 of them. You get to pick which ones you want by way of apology, and we will send them to you. I'm so sorry. My life has been intense recently.
It's weird when Iggy owes you something. I think that's why you like trolls. Because you get weird when you owe people things.
A man should pay his debts.
Yeah, but it's
and
beyond
so
that.
We spoke.
A red cap always pays his debts.
And so we spoke. All right. So where do you want to start?
Let's start with introducing ourselves. It's been a while.
Has it?
It has.
When's the last time you guys did a talking about
MessCon? So it's been about a year.
Yeah.
It wasn't the same without you.
What?
It wasn't the same without you.
It was better?
How many months was it?
It's been...
Beppy's 10 months old now, by way of coincidence. Just throwing that out there.
There's an energy...
MessCon, and then Lara gave birth, and I've been dadding, and you know how that hustle is.
I knew!
Barely.
So, trying this again. Hi, I'm Brian, ANST Apocalypse with Mind's Eye Society. With me is Bucky.
Bucky Abramovsky, as always, here to keep everybody grounded, dish out the banality when going over this.
Seriously,
yeah, we're careening towards Bedlam. He's our only saving grace.
Our central red cap here is Iggy. Say hello, Iggy.
How's it going?
Iggy.
I don't have a position and I don't want one. There we go.
That's good. That's good. And we also have Brian here.
Hi, I'm Brian. I have many former positions in the org that this org is no longer is. So, but they're all changing related, and I'm very happy to be here today.
Is Old Garden.
Oh,
I am. Yeah,
is that an actual drinking horn?
I believe it is.
Where are we?
It is.
Well, it's late summer in Buffalo, and everything's looking up.
No, it's winter.
Is it winter?
It's
winter. You just
winter
rolled in
is
from
here.
a blustery winter storm,
And
all wearing red
and-
hats.
and-
There's a drinking horn. You've got books with moths.
I don't
on
know
them,
what you guys
and
are
we're gonna
talking
talk
about.
Changelings all night.
So that's literally the best segue.
Oh,
It
we
is.
should close that door.
It is winter, and it is winter, and that is one of the best, most exciting things about this new game. That's what I'm here for.
Where do we start? We got a lot to cover.
I would say we should give a nod out to our players who are returning changing players who have been waiting with bated breath. And honestly, some of you have fallen into the forgetting. Some of you had doubted this was ever going to happen. Some of you have doubted this was ever going to happen. And I was among them. I kept hope alive in my little freehold. I tried for years.
It's been 12 and a half years.
I knew two things to be true. This would happen, and Wraith won't.
Those are your North Star.
That really describes the core of my being.
Yeah, and it's because this is good.
I mean,
And
Let's
Wraith's
talk about
not.
it. Let's talk about it.
Okay. Well, this
No.
could be good.
To
It's
all
probably
the
the best way to
writers
put
and
it.
devs who may eventually tune in or listen to this, I will probably mercilessly criticize various things. But I want it to be known that the reason I make those criticisms isn't to be mean.
That's just a side effect.
That's just a tertiary benefit.
That's just who he is as
No,
a person.
But honestly, my impetus is always the same. It's concern and to make the game better.
Not because you're literally dripping with banality.
Again, that's a side issue. That's a correlation, not a causation.
Okay.
But it came up with Werewolf. Many Jimmies were rustled over the course of time, talking about different powers and
Really?
stuff. Oh, yeah.
Was that a thing?
When we first tackled the Kitsune thing. Anyway.
Well,
It doesn't bear repeating.
No,
Doesn't-
we will bring this up again when we hit satyrs.
And when we hit what isn't in the game anymore.
Yes, we will hit this up in a positive, affirmative fashion. Thank you, writers.
Yes.
When we talk about what is in this game,
You're right. There is carrot as well as stick.
I'd like to say two things coming here as my first day on board, and I guess I'm the easy mark. One, really liked what we've seen so far. Two, shout out to all the mage players who are hopeful that they're going to be next. I think that this getting going is a good sign for you guys too, and stay magical, stay proud.
come support Changeling, and then maybe I really don't care if you get your game. Maybe
New IPs.
Really?
Or, well,
Yeah.
you know, revamped IPs.
I just
Well,
play,
I will say
play
this.
this game.
It's no official metric, but of the people I know who
Well, that was fun.
saw the beta slice and were like, all right, I guess I'm renewing my MES membership, the number is big. It's a lot of people I know locally. It's a lot of people I've seen nationally. The hype around Changeling is... I mean,
It's over 9,000.
It reminds me of the hype about Werewolf.
I'm sorry, I don't do anime.
Fuck you.
How did I know that was anime if I didn't do... All right.
But I think that is the big thing is there's a lot of hype about this game, and the best
Deserve it.
I think so. I think it's the best of the World of Darkness games for the LARP environment. I think it always has been. I think the mechanics weren't really there with Shining Host because Shining Host had its problems.
It
But
definitely
It was adapted
feels-
by a teenager, etc., etc., etc.,
It
etc.
de-
There was
definitely-
there was that one part in the influence where it said Garrow.
Mage.
No,
It was
I mean,
mage.
A wizard goes where
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
want is under transportation. So, needs must, deadlines, etc.
Shining Host, arguably the most page XXs per.
I mean, this was
Capita.
3 owners of White Wolf ago. I don't think we're going to hurt anybody's
No,
feelings
you'll
for
find a way.
shitting on the old boss.
I believe in you.
That
That's
being
fair.
said, we have we have 300 pages of material in the new release.
How many viewers do we have?
They're talking.
That's not a number.
That's not a number.
Well, most of our viewership catches us, on the DVR.
20
as it
people
were.
right now.
That's
That's a
actually
good number.
That's actually a lot more than I expected.
Thank you, viewers.
So,
yeah, we heart you.
all right, so let's start from the top. I wish we had printed out copies because I'm that dusty old fuck who likes books.
Well, I think
I also like
the
books.
best way to get through this first episode talking about Changelings, I think we should just really skim through, talk about our impressions. We can talk about the crunch when it comes to mine, but otherwise, let's just go through and see what the general feelings were about stuff.
Sure.
So, something that was covered.
Blinding nostalgia, a desperate hope, a chance to right the things that are wrong and to do the things left undone.
Yeah.
I mean, you meant
What?
about the specific.
Yeah. Okay, so we can talk about every kith, but I think we should focus on the new kiths, the ones that are new to the beta slice, since we've already talked about the alpha slice ones.
Which
We
were the
talked
alpha
about
slices?
the
I
alpha
haven't.
It was like a year ago. Way more than a year ago.
It was a year and a half ago.
I don't,
So
It was
I don't
before
even-
August
you were
14,
wearing a red
2018.
hat, and we were still
I don't
regularly
even,
putting
I
out
don't
talking
even
about
remember
werewolves.
who was in the alpha slice.
Why don't we start from the top then?
Yeah. No, why don't we start with what we said in the alpha slice? What's up? Who was in the alpha slice? Do you remember?
Off the top of my head, no, but I'll know when I'm looking at them.
It was She, Boggins,
we slew a
Red
troll.
Cap. No, it's Slew a Troll. That's
Slew a
right.
troll.
We could just go through it real quick.
Yeah, let's
It's just
start at
not.
the top.
We don't have to.
So, guys, a lot of you guys will be seeing these for the first time, so it's good to talk about all of them, I guess.
Yeah.
Edit that last part out. Boggins.
Oh
Love
my God.
Boggins.
A lot of people really loved the hell out of this new Boggins section. I think I'm one of them, actually.
I foresee, and I talked about this on the car ride over to people who probably didn't care. No, they absolutely did care, but they're probably wondering about my sanity.
So say we all.
I foresee these huge battles, everybody pictures like the troll head of security who's played the old game. Everybody's pictured like the red cat bouncer, but none of them have the cachet. If you look at the combination of affinities as Boggin head of security, this is their house. They took some of the best stuff from. I don't know if you play vampires. Some of you do. Hopefully, some of you do. Gargoyles. Some of the best stuff that made their chantry theirs, that locks it down, is just part and parcel of being Boggin. When it's their house, it is their house. And when that's contrasted with, and we'll talk about it later, some of the other kiths' abilities to break in, it's going to be a cat and mouse security cat burglar. Just
it's going to be a lot of fun to see how these interact.
That's
in the wild.
Their upgrade made them a lot more appealing, because they went from being janitors to being custodians and seneschals, which is what they were supposed to
Major
do.
domos.
They can actually do that job now.
Yeah.
And I think that the fluff moved in that direction, and the crunch supported it.
Speaking as a longtime Boggin player...
Wait, consigliere, do you think that's a fair way to just...
I think that's what they're pushing the Floricon for.
I prefer Major Domo to...
Seneschal, if you will.
Seneschal, yep.
Yeah.
I've never heard that word
Don't get it
before.
confused with
The real word.
An actual Seneschal.
Castellan.
An Archon.
How
Perhaps.
dare.
Again,
How dare.
in the non...
Let's
try to avoid.
Let's just run over
Can you
vampires.
send me the link to this Discord so I can actually see what people are saying?
Sure. It's twitch.tv/blazeofamber.
What is it again?
Twitch.tv/blazeofamber.
Follow us on the 4 major social media, of which we're only on one, and you're probably already following on it, if you cared.
But I think the big thing about Boggins, and I think this is a really good thing you want to see in any write-up, is it doesn't less tell you what you're going to play, is it gives you a lot of options.
Yes.
Exactly.
Which I really love, because I can see a lot of different ways of approaching this Boggin material that I think is really interesting. I mean, the ultimate kill box hobbit cannot be dismissed as on one end.
But that's just their crunch.
But that's
what you do with that.
Yeah. I was swinging back to that. Like, there's a whole continuum of possible Boggin options.
Yeah.
So I think even the hardcore players who might
Those
not want to be the
powers
shoe
can
cobblers,
also be used for good.
But absolutely.
It's not actually.
I like how you said also and for good, as opposed to also for evil.
Well, it's not.
That's your natural default setting.
It's not called kill boxing the powers. Here's 5 levels of kill boxing. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's 5 levels of kill boxing. But
I mean, the third level is really the key one, but
here's the thing: as people who have glanced at Boggin and some of their affinities, can you see a major event going on where you're going to have members of royal houses and enemies all show up to one place where you don't put a shitload of Boggins in charge of security?
Oh my god, yeah.
It has to be Boggins.
If you want, I think Boggins in any game are going to find themselves in a very active role.
They're going to be if you're a motley that has a freehold, if you have your own balefire, if you have any territory to protect, and you don't have a Boggin friend, you don't have a territory. People will just waltz in and out of there. They'll slide down the stairs like the banana splits. The only way to keep people out of your stuff is Boggins. So I think they're going to be, like, I'm not going to say necessary, but damn near.
Yeah, I played a lot of Boggins. I played one Boggin for a very long time.
Bogginry.
There was a lot of great role playing in being a Boggin in the Shining Host. But mechanically, you were really just a not as good knocker.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was what it came down to.
That couldn't really be social. I need you all to not be here, so my powers are better.
Right.
Social. I'm glad I showed up to play this live.
Like I had a friend, Brendan Sullivan, who was just the best, the absolute best. You know, he was just so good in the games I was running in New York, and he was just perfect. And he did all the things, and he took care of everything. But that's something to do.
The link on Messenger.
That's something to do on game. That's something to do in game. That's not necessarily something to drive your character, other than I am going to be the very best, like no one ever was.
I'm gonna put it in the group chat.
I can't see having a she with a castle and not having a Boggin Seneschal. I can't see being the leader of a Corby who owns a bar, who really wants to keep the She and Sealy spies out of their shit without a boggin. I can't like.
I think we're gonna see a lot of having the incompetent noble with the boggin holding everything together.
Yeah.
I think that's a trope we're gonna see a lot of.
See, also
I just like to think in a matter. And
Yeah.
I will say it's not just true of boggins, but of a lot of the different kits. You can see the appeal of them. To use werewolf as a touchstone, because we definitely did talk about werewolf a lot.
True.
This is literally talking about werewolves.
I know.
Changeling edition.
I'm just saying, we've been here. Don't call it a comeback.
We've been gone for a year.
We have been. But I can see boggins having the popularity, the Korax style popularity of like, I hope there's not too many of them, but because I don't want a game of just but I can understand why everybody's going to want at least one as a friend.
But you know what's really good? In looking through all the things that we've seen, there's no one who stands out as being, like there's a lot of things that you see across all the kits, which we'll get into. That there's something to draw you to all of them.
There's something to draw people who are fans.
Yes.
And people who would have never considered playing a boggin.
Two boggins, yes,
to
absolutely.
possibly consider playing them.
And guys, we'd like to dig deep into stuff like talking about all the camps and stuff, but that's really not what this podcast is going to be. This is more of a survey.
There's going to be at least 3 or 4 of these podcasts, and we're like,
Look at you committing.
Yeah, no, this is going to be, especially with my new job.
Yeah.
So there's going to be
Congratulations.
Thank you. There's going to be an overview of the kits and the general game. We're not going to get too specific, and then like I think we could do one on kits, one on realms, and arts. But if you're smart, you'll notice I said realms first. And yes. And then just the other stuff about the game, like the dramatic systems. And I kind of want to end this podcast, and I'm asking Brian, I kind of want to end this podcast on almost not a critical note, but a questioning note. I want to end this podcast on, as you guys read this and as you listen to us, I want to know what you think the slice is missing. Like, what is mentioned or hinted or tantalizing or just absent that you think is necessary for the game. Because if you say those things and people can work up solutions, then possible playtests can occur.
Let's talk about the next kith, and I think that's a really great note to keep in our minds throughout. Is this a kith that I feel like is radically different than my previous conception of them, but I think better? But I don't know. Chloricon.
Love them.
I don't know anything about them. I barely read them. Wow me, tell me.
If you are a fan of the show Lucifer, if you're a fan of Supernatural,
If you're a fan of Demon the Fallen,
if you're a fan of Demon the Fallen, Chloricon's right. I read Chloricons. My immediate thing was like, I'm going to be Lucifer plus Crowley, and it's going to be the bomb.
Crowley.
Yeah.
They're Crowley-esque? So like legit lawful evil?
No, but they can be.
I mean, they're alignment. They have open on the alignment, but they're big on trading.
They make contracts so that if they're evil, they can be lawful evil.
I think one thing a lot of people thought, immediate response I got about the Chloricon section from a lot of players was they immediately thought, well, they're just ripping off like stuff from American Gods. These are nothing like the leprechauns from American Gods. Like,
I didn't hear that.
What's
I don't see it.
American Gods?
It's this Neil Gaiman TV show.
No, bullshit. Don't humor him. You're aware of New York Times bestsellers in general, specifically that of genre.
You are part of
all
the
your friends
zeitgeist.
read. Don't even. He has a copy of that and the Nazi Boys. What are you doing? Like, you don't fucking know him.
I was just selling. I was trying to...
No,
sell?
I will no sell that every
All right, so
time.
Chloricons. Why would you play them?
Well, there's
You already gave me yours. Brian, why would you play them?
I think they're interesting. It's hard for me to move past the leprechaun problem.
Sorry.
Quite.
Fetch me Lucky Charms.
Yes, the Lucky Charms problem.
Look,
I think the
Which is better this time around.
Yeah, no, much better.
But not.
They're not
gone.
cartoonish racist. And I'm going to say it. They're not cartoonish racist stereotypes anymore.
Yeah, that was a problem.
They used to be violently drunk.
What is their frailty now?
That said,
What is their frailty now? I didn't see.
They can't break their contracts.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I love that.
It's basically a flare-it.
Well, here's the thing. Their 1 point merit is they can break their contracts.
Yeah. Well,
We're gonna get into merits later.
Okay.
Whatchamacallit, I would still recommend, if you haven't seen it, and I was reminded of it because it was in a recent poll, that you should still see Darby O'Gill and the Little People.
Yep.
If you've never seen it, it's a Disney classic. It's also problematic, but it's the product
I'm sorry.
of its time.
They can't lie. Also,
They can't lie.
Yep.
Oh, that's even better.
Completely incapable of lying.
That was literally a character flaw I played for years. It was the greatest.
But the reason I think this is more...
Practically a character flaw that I have.
I do think it's better than the Korax flaw, because they can at least not talk.
Yep. Why would you play a Chloricon, besides the fact that you're an actual, real-life avocado?
Okay.
It's avocado and abogado? Have you not seen Daredevil?
Yes. First of all, I just know what the word is in Spanish. Being an attorney, you pick these things up. So anyway, while contract law, it does have a siren song for all members of the bar. I will say that my preferred method of being a Chloricon would be, honestly, they gave them the tools to be the sort of wheeler-dealers that other things in the world of darkness have perennially been pushed towards and never done. Like, for example, they could very well be played in a fashion of everything from honorable merchant to organized criminal. You could be a Westie, or you can be like a proper like fairy folk, like just I don't know. I said merch before, but anyway, the thing is they have the tools to actually pull it off, and every other merchant person that they've pushed that way, Giovanni, Setites to a lesser extent, they've been like, yeah, that's what you're all about. Oh, do we have powers to back that up? Fuck no. Go fuck yourselves. You can make zombies or some shit, but you should seriously be big into wheeling and dealing. This is like, you should consider the social aspect of the game and wheeling and dealing. Also, here are some tools that might facilitate different things of that nature, which is refreshing.
Okay.
So there you go. That was one of your compliments, Devs.
I've got a question for you after this. No, you first.
The big thing that is, I mean, this is a beta slice. We don't have the contracts information yet.
Right. But we're told that it'll be a whole section along with oaths.
Very cool. Very cool.
So, if you were running a beta slice, would you just lift oaths whole cloth?
No, I think if you're running a beta slice and you need to deal with oaths and contracts, I think you should probably just make oaths unbreakable.
Treat them like geeses.
Yeah.
Essentially. I mean, it's probably not accurate because you're comparing an elder werewolf power to like a whole subclass of contracting, but for a beta test, it's
just
good enough.
I think some of the original oaths had penalties when you broke them, and I think that we should lift those penalties if you're going to play.
You also might be able to take a look at it, and I meant to do it before tonight, and I failed. I'm a bad boggin.
We've had 12 hours with the material.
People were looking at you, and you didn't have time.
I know, exactly. It's true. They're looking at me now. I'm really kind of fucking up. Taking a look at blood contracts from the Tremere. Yeah. There's a lot of stuff that we can kind of...
That's a great idea.
...kind of put together. I don't know. I mean, it's really bad because I play a Tremere. But I don't know exactly what you can do with that. But I think there's work to be done. There's also all the contract food that kind of came through Goblin Markets in Lost. It's different systems.
We've written a couple Goblin Markets in our team too. Yeah.
NBD.
Yeah.
Also, shout out to Jess if she's listening.
I doubt it. The other thing that really needs to be mentioned about these guys is that they have naming.
Yeah,
that's what I was saying. And naming is a great tool for that.
Yeah, I don't know if that's gonna last.
I don't think it's gonna last.
I hope it doesn't last. Why would you? What reason would you not play a Chloricon? Like, what about them do you find unappealing? If there's anything at all, you don't have to answer.
The sort of the subtext of them wanting to run for the throne, the whole we predated the she being in power thing. It just kind of like
they give that to two kiths though.
They give that to that. They give that to that. They give it to trolls, and then they also have the slew and the red caps who are just like, hey. We're older than you bitches.
Literally every kith says that.
Every kith is older than the she. I didn't need
the
that.
puka. The puka are like we're animal dreams, and animals were before people. So
Yeah,
man, we've
that's
been
the
on
one
this.
I was thinking of.
Yeah.
Where they're like, we're before all you bitches. When we're primordial slime, when it dreamed dreams of pukas.
Is there something about Chloricon that you find that you wouldn't want as a player? Something that you would consider like, this isn't my bag.
They don't really scream out to me, which is weird because the weird thing is the older Chloricon in the old edition, which I didn't like as much. I enjoyed the hell out of playing them. I don't know if these guys call them yet, but I think I need to spend more time with the material.
Okay, same question.
I mean, I still have a fundamental issue with the Ireland chock-a-block powers versus the real-world issues of Irish history. You can only pack so much Irish supernaturalism into one spot, and then look at Ireland and its history, and not be like, you guys got to stop. You got to stop.
I'd be neglect not to bring this up. We have a player saying they find the Clericon kind of cringy. They're focused on deals, secret gold. It just feels like Jew stereotypes. Just reading the text.
Fair enough. I mean, I only skimmed the material. But that said, yeah, I mean, I'd have to go back over it. I don't think...
I mean, you can say the same thing about Boggins with their trading secrets type thing. There's a lot...
Everybody trades secrets. The trading secrets I'm less concerned about. It's their mercenary motives that's more about... And don't get me wrong, White Wolf has done that before. I mean, as subtext and as supertext. Again,
time and time again.
Giovanni. Jesus fucking Christ. But...
I think...
it could use some clean... To talk about the cringiness of some of the things, can I jump ahead real quick?
For a moment, then I want to get to Issue.
Okay.
But finish your thought.
Issue is another one that Issue is another one that sort of has this.
I have to be careful. This is the last of my room.
Cultural sensitivity is important. I don't want to sound too like, I don't know, SJW-ish.
Fuck it, no, I will sound as SJW-ish as possible.
I don't know. Some people think I'm an SJW, other people think I'm an anti-SJW.
Oh, sick burn, you care about people.
I'm a social justice bard, thank you.
In any event, one thing I would say before release, and just Issue and I think it was Pukas, don't use other religions' gods as examples of what your things are. Use that culture's cryptids, because that's not cringeworthy. It's just insulting. Like, for some of the extinct religions, you can get away with that, because nobody gives a shit what Zeus followers think these days, or Mesopotamians. But, some of the other examples, just no bueno. Don't do that. Every culture has imps and boggins and snarks and the equivalent. Everybody's... my culture has them. Just a bunch of them. There's everything from like pseudo ghost demons to witches, all sorts of stuff. Every culture has like their knockoff version of a vampire, their knockoff version of like a poltergeist or something that lives in your house and fucks with you. All of them have it. Use those as your examples. Do not just use other religions. That's just not okay. I'm just gonna say that.
Good. Issue.
I think in Issue, I loved these guys the moment I read the write-up on them.
You loving a kith about telling stories.
Yeah, I know, it's weird. But the other thing I've heard a lot about this kith is people being uncomfortable with their teleporting. People think it's broken.
Fucking Issue go where they're needed. I love playing Issue.
Well, I think that's the best way to start, is talking about that mild controversy we're seeing there.
I feel
How
like
does it interact with the bogginess?
It's less than it was in the Shining Host.
I mean, in the Shining Host, you can go into any scene, fuck your time bubble, and then bamf out with anybody
here's
you
my
wanted.
Issue card. I'm in the scene.
Yeah.
Here's my issue card. Fuck your kill box.
That's what
Yeah.
Issue do.
That's
Again,
what Issue do.
This is what makes them...
I think the big picture that needs to be remembered, and I think this because we're all very new to the material, is everyone needs to keep this in mind. Realms are all about breaking the rules.
Yes.
Breaking the rules is a big part of what... and that's the challenge of the design of this game, is that breaking the rules has to be part of the game, but you also have to balance that.
Fuck your stagnation. There are no rules. There's only imagination and hope.
It's all we have left.
Are you
is winter,
sealing
baby.
now?
What?
Are you sealing now?
I swing
you just switch
wildly.
courts?
I swing. It depends. No,
He's probably got some sort of appropriate
I got a
flaw.
huge infusion of glamour recently for some goddamn reason. The issue, the whole the ability to bamf in and out of scenes, the teleportation, it's been mimicked by other tribes, other abilities, magical items. You could not fetishes. It's doable and it's handleable, but it's what the issue are about. And if you aren't comfortable with the idea of someone being able to jump into your scene, then I suggest that if you're planning a kill box, because I think that's what that's about. If you're planning a kill box harder.
Yeah.
And if you're not planning a kill box, what's the problem? Like if once you crunch into the powers, once you crunch into the arts and the realms and the abilities of what their treasures, which have very similar ideas to fetishes, can do. Once you go into that, the idea that somebody has a kith power that just ruins everything you can plan is a no sell. Like, that's not a thing. This is literally another of many abilities to interact with the scene, and it's easily cancelable. I wouldn't be particularly worried. I think it's a lot about flavor.
I like it. It's also incredible. I just love the Ishu.
The Ishu are
in my
great.
mind,
The
one of my
Ishu are
favorite
adventurers, which I love.
Yeah.
Everything about them is they're just big, classic heroes and adventurers.
They're-
I mean,
even-
even their frailty plays into
even
that.
understated Ishu, which I've played. You can't help but be cinematic with their kit. I mean, it begs for it.
Yeah.
Last minute rescues, showing up at just the right place at just the right time. And
Wayfarer and Soothsay are just such a great combination
Yes.
along those lines. And Tailcraft, mwah. We'll get into that later, but I've got
every good
love Tailcraft.
every good story has like a sudden rescue, a serendipitous event.
Right.
Like, you need the
I
ability
also
to
think
do
them
that.
being able to completely
We'll
fuck
come
up
at
other
the dawning
people's
of the
plans
third
is a
day.
feature, not a
The
bug.
bug, yeah.
Well, this goes back to
Killbot's
something
harder.
Well, this goes back to something we saw a lot in Apocalypse, which we didn't catch right
Fair
away.
enough.
Which is that there was a really good design paper, rock, scissors behind things that seemed broken had a counter.
Yeah.
And I think what we're starting to see in Changeling is that we're starting to see that some of the breakages counter other breakages.
Yeah.
I think Ishu's a good example. And their frailty is great. They have the old rock giant frailty.
We can't turn down a fair challenge.
Yeah.
Oh,
I know.
which is better than
and of course,
just
there's a
giving them
paragraph of
overconfidence.
restrictions on that, so it can't be gamed.
Yeah,
But
how can
I
you
like
make
that
it-
it's not just. I like that it's not just overconfidence, because overconfidence is personally my favorite flaw to take on every single character I have. Not that I was planning on playing an Ishu, but I considered it.
well, I think like for instance,
I
you
still
can't just
buy it.
dare them to clean your house.
I absolutely
work like
expect
that.
you to.
So it's just you can't. It has to be something that has a challenge to it that they feel is acceptable. It has to be interesting.
I will say
It can't be.
It has to be interesting.
Yeah.
Why can't that be everywhere?
And of course, challenges that put in issues, oaths at risk, interfere with matters of great import such as combat, or clearly time-consuming or clearly constructed to embarrass the issue, do not trigger the frailty.
Good. These
Yeah.
are all features.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's great.
When I was reading through Ishu, again, skimming through Ishu, there were another one that, like, I would rather their relationship with the Orishes be described differently, as somebody with Ebo and, like, Yoruban friends. Like, these are not extinct peoples. Just ask them what their favored cryptids were moving forward. I don't want to hammer this drum too often, but get on
I
it.
think it's a fair note to discuss. I think we're better when we can talk about
Because you might
that.
completely unintentionally alienate a lot of people. And, I mean, I don't want to see a book that will otherwise be good be easily derided as being, like, insulting to Hindus and just, you know, because fuck 1.3 billion people.
Well, I think we're all scarred after. I don't want to derail.
After
G
Old White
word.
Wolf?
No, after V5.
No.
Which-
Oh, yeah.
Here's the thing.
No, see, I
we
don't
don't wanna
think any
talk
of this
about
that.
is
Yeah, we don't wanna talk about
intentional. I don't think any of this is intentional edgelording. I think a lot of it is the old stuff being ported in. I mean, I still remember when Ishu were like, they're Yoruban, but they're also still genies. And we're not really sure.
Papa
what
Legba.
Yeah, we're not really sure what direction we're gonna go with them exactly, but we're gonna use a lot of genealogy.
Just be fair. It's like, oh, they're brown.
Right. All we
Which-
know is that they're from anywhere from West Africa to the edge of the Middle East, which I don't know if you got a
Which-
map.
which-
That's
Well, that
most of
was the old book. But
I
the
know.
old book was really this.
I know.
No,
To be
I
clear,
remember coming into Changeling,
There was a lot of
and then
course
like people.
correction.
I remember coming into Changeling. I'm not going to name names, but I remember the player very well. And they looked at me as soon as I walked in. I was thinner then. They looked at me and they're like, "You're gonna play an Ishu, right?" And I'm all like, "What's an Ishu?" So like, literally, it's like, yeah, there's some of them come, and I think it was mentioned in one of the flavor books or one of the splats that there are Ishu who descend from people
Well, there
who are in
should
the
be like
Caribbean.
the Silent Strider thing that you can be of all sorts of different
But
extractions
it was
and look like anything.
it was
because that's how genes work.
It was played as, oh, you got an all-year tan.
Yeah, you're melanized.
Yeah.
Play the dark kith.
And frankly, there is a little bit of that in the setting. It does say they tend to be African, Middle Eastern, and Indian.
Yeah, I have
Which-
a lot of
which-
Middle
none
Eastern
of those
heritage.
things.
Yeah, it's I actually
literally none of those things.
admittedly, I'm white as bread, but
It's okay.
You move
I
like a brioche. I don't never.
I'm more fluffy. I've got a little bit of egg in me.
But
Sorry,
it's okay. I think the last thing I want to say about the issue, and it's just a simple costuming note, any excuse for those black scleral lenses is always worth it. I just think they're always so cool. So anybody who, because issue have those
Startle me
black
with them,
star eyes,
and there will be violence. I fucking hate them. They scare the shit
I
out
never
of
find
me.
the whole Beck thing scary because it's like finding Momo scary or any other like nonsense media hysteria. Black-eyed kids are coming in to steal your homes. They'll take your phone.
Everybody has their own fears. Everybody has their little ticks, Bucky.
God, I hate you sometimes.
So, moving on.
Oh.
I think one thing that this
Relics.
book doesn't have that other Changelings book have and is always appreciated is, of course, a pronunciation guide.
Oh, yeah.
So it's not here. So I'm gonna say it's Gidu.
Is it really?
Yieldu is how I've always
Yeah,
Yield.
that sound is iffy on me.
Speaking as someone who has an Irish studies minor from New York University that included an Irish Gaelic class, Yieldu is how I tend to go towards it.
Okay.
But it could be not that.
I've got people I can ask.
Feel free.
It's pronounced Yieldu. Yeah.
My buddy's got a...
I love Yieldu.
Yeah.
I think that
What will you do? I'm getting the puns out of the way.
Yeah.
absolutely. I think that
That's why
Dad joke.
I think that
Together.
Yieldu is the third of the triad of who you need to have with you in Killbox.
Why? Why? I know nothing.
Okay.
I specifically, by the way, to the viewers at home who were like, why is Iggy saying he knows nothing? One, it's true. Two, I've been watching a lot of Jon Snow. Three, I've left myself ignorant on whole sections of the book.
I
so
don't
I
think
can
it
get a first
actually knows that.
impression.
Yeah,
We're-
I think
we'll-
this might be legitimate. Again, as Brian pointed out, the material's only been out for 12 hours.
It's true.
I could have read it.
There
I
was
chose
a
not
lot.
to.
There was a lot of conversation about. Oh, I looked at this. I looked at this. I tried to go through the whole thing, and I may have forgotten some of it. But Arboreal has the rest of the gargoyle powers.
Oh, yeah,
that the
Arboreal's
Boggins didn't get,
Yeah.
including the getting the sense of the entire building that you're
Yeah, you
in.
get to
You
the
sink
attune
in
thing.
and you attune to the entire building, so you know everything. And if you have the right proficient or the right
Realms.
no,
Do we want to mention what the hell they are also? Because we've done it with every other kith.
Sorry, let's.
Because I know literally nothing about the. I never played with them.
They're
Nature
dryads.
Yeah.
Okay, done.
There you go.
Done. They
I
have.
just,
There's green men.
They're green men. Yep.
A little bit
well, many
green.
of them are green. Men.
Children
That's one
of the
their
forest,
gifts.
rather.
They have, in my mind, the coolest merit, but we're
Actually
not going to
associ-
get into that
I
right
actually
now.
associate them with leshies.
With what?
Leshies?
No idea.
I mean, I don't. Other than just saying the word again incredulously, I don't know where to go from here. Google that shit.
I can't. I'm on Discord.
Spell it phonetically.
I'm
L-E-S-H.
upping our numbers as others should.
Y-S or I-E-S, I guess. Leshies.
So all right. What's their shtick? What do they do?
I don't know if leshies are mentioned in the book.
Arboreal does a lot of cool stuff in regard.
Not their art. Them.
They are
You're my subject matter expert. I need you.
I think while you're thinking that for a
blade
second.
spirits.
Yeah, one challenge I think we're all going to have here is making sure we're clearly differentiating them from the anime.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of sense of overlap in so much as they're...
Are there in anime that are living tree spirits?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's a challenge to really brightly differentiate them.
How do they interact? We'll get to the anatomy in a second.
Well, the anatomy, I mean, we could spend a whole podcast just
We
on
could.
the
It's
anatomy
12
section.
pages that we can take a look at line by line by line.
Because every one of those lines could be a page.
Yes.
There's
I
a
mean,
lot of
absolutely.
material to get
I'll
through.
read you their description. I think that it's probably going to become clear why I knew of them. So, according to Russian folklore, Leshy made the forest his home. He's supposed to be a critic of some of the spirits who belong in the realm of the cloudlands and the storms. They're basically Russian green men.
Yeah.
In the Shining Host, they didn't have seamings. They had
They're a little bit meaner.
Anchors?
no. They
No,
had
anchors are an
instead of
anime.
Seelie and Unseelie, or no, instead of
We're not. We're the anime are coming up. We should hold off.
well, no, on Yildu.
Okay.
They were
See?
sorry. We're still talking about Yildu.
Yeah.
They were spring, autumn, fall instead of Sealy and Unsealy.
Right.
And it had a lot, or instead of Childling, Wilder, Grump. And it was about a process. That's taken away slightly. I love them. Taking a look at them, it's not something. I'm a city boy.
Okay.
I'm not a country boy. I'm not a forest boy. I hate camping. I don't even like glamping. But the Yildu are really cool. Like the concept of the, I have a grove and I protect it. There's a lot of stuff that was, they tried to stay, we have our spaces. And then they're like, you know what? You're tearing down all our fucking spaces. And which is going to bring them into interaction
Was
with
it
the
Steve
ceiling.
or was it you who's like every Yildu needs a red talon buddy?
Yes.
That was Steve. Yeah.
That was not me, but I agree.
So our buddy Steve was just like every Yildu should find a red talon just as a drinking buddy and be like, fucking humans just come in, just ruining everything. They're the worst. You got it, buddy. We should do something about it.
I'm gonna suggest something.
What's that?
We skip the anatomy for this podcast.
I think there are a lot there and they're beautiful, but I do think it deserves a lot of time for itself.
I think it deserves its own.
Yep.
Yeah.
I agree.
Okay, so we're gonna come back to the anatomy.
We'll get an anime next time.
I always thought of
Chatting
them
about
as a very catch-all kith. They pitched a big tent with them, even in the old setting.
Yes, absolutely.
Where it was like, these are one thing, but by one thing we mean a dozen things.
Right.
And here's all your different options.
When you are your own kingdoms, you should get your own sessions.
I agree.
So the next kith is a kith that is very different from the old days, but a lot of people say they see a clear through line through the material that it makes sense why they've changed, and that's Puka, who are in a very different place than they were in Shining
Puka
Host.
are in a tremendously different place.
Are they in a place where I want to fling them out of the nearest window?
No.
Other than one of their last lines in the fluff, I like what they did with Puka.
Yeah.
I think that it's a
I think
definite
this is
step up from the caricature that they were.
As opposed to just doing the Malk thing of just making them more serious
They were
and
just-
leaving it that, they've really changed their focus a lot, and I really
How so? Hit me.
well they're how do we put this? Well, first
They're more feral.
yes,
They've gangreled them up a bit. They've added a little bit of Malkavian English on top of it. They have a very sort of Cassandra thing going for them. In they know what, like they knew what was coming, and they are very much the kith that, as much as it's like, oh, she had to flee. Like the way that they're setting up the Puka is, yo, we got fucked hard.
they went Unseelie hard.
They went Unseelie hard, and there's a lot of
So they're the inverse of what happened to the Red Caps, to a degree.
to a great extent. I feel like
I
they're
actually get a real Wendigo vibe from them.
Ooh, I
Oh.
like that.
Now I'm sad.
Oh, no,
I mean,
I like
they
that.
really
Yeah.
definitely hit them with like a pretty old school Wendigo vibe of like.
I mean, like 60% of all the animals on the planet are going to, like
Yeah.
Who,
As soon as you
you're
said that, it made sense to me.
If
Yeah.
you're the dreams of animals,
They're all
the
extinct.
Anthropocene
Not all, but-
is probably a bad time.
I mean, yeah, this has been worse, but yeah, it's pretty not good. That was the feeling I got from the effect of what happened and with
The
winter
camera froze?
upon them.
Oh, 1 second, I'll fix that. Yeah, your camera froze up.
Oh, sorry.
Can you still hear us though?
Yeah, I can still hear you. I'm just gonna re-add it.
Yeah, the blue light turned on.
Yeah,
The expression on Bucky's face is amazing.
Wait, what?
Well, since the camera's off, I'm gonna get more drink.
I'm like,
I win. I don't
What you guys aren't seeing is what I'm doing under the table.
Oh shit.
That explains Bucky's expression.
I can do this as super text. That's fine.
All right, so
Okay, you're back on video.
You know what? I'll just hit images.
images.
Here. Leshies.
I can't see that. I'm too blind.
So
I'll look at
animals
it
are dying. There's less and less of them. Some of the animals that are left are being terribly abused. Winter is here, and it's not a great time for puka anyway.
It's
and
not.
they wanted to serious them up.
Well, and they were decimated on two fronts: the natural front and the political front.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's. Anyway, I'm just saying that's the vibe I got. If you're a werewolf player and you're like, what would be the closest?
Absolutely.
Right. What would be the closest sort of analogous tribe? I mean, there it is.
I think this section also created one of the big ambiguities that I'm not sure was ethereal intent, was that people are not clear whether whether Selkie are puka now, or whether they're just protecting the Selkie.
I think that's a matter of this being a beta.
Yeah, I'm just not sure what that text box is trying to
You know what?
convey.
Well,
I read that bit, and I think that it's on purpose. I think it's.
I agree.
I think in the face of winter, widespread extinction, animal abuse, and being decimated politically, they want to get rid of the distinction between each other. It's like we have to close ranks. It does. You change shape into animals. You change shape into one kind of animal. If we don't stick together, there'll be no goddamn animals.
Right.
So why are we bitching up? Why are we like? There's traditions, the Selkie cult, the whole thing, but.
I mean, they're almost more like a pharaoh than they are other like.
Differences
other
only
kiths.
matter when there's more than 3 of you left.
Yes.
Frankly, I feel like that insert was put in there to. Nope. This is not a negative comment towards the devs. It was meant to whet our appetite for the Lorelei and figure out who the hell they are.
Right.
Because the Lorelei are mentioned there. They don't get any more information throughout, except when it comes to the rarity merits, where they are in with the local.
Yes, they're clearly available for PC. At first, when I saw that, I thought maybe they were an antagonist faction, and yet there they are available as PCs. So there's a lot of questions there. I'm really looking forward to finding out.
I feel like it's sort of like Ao Kwang. Sort of like the river spirit thing is what I'm getting from it.
Yeah.
Probably because I really like the Blackmore's Night Song Lorelei, which is about a siren.
Where all I know about Lorelei is from Gilmore Girls.
He's a river dragon.
I love Gilmore.
Isn't he?
It's a good show.
Yeah.
Great
He's a
band.
river dragon.
Yes, that exactly.
Yeah.
That's because I play a lot of Smite too.
The last thing about the puka is that they cleaned up the text on their frailty, so they don't just always have to lie, which means they're always telling the truth, which is what in the real world always
didn't go to the drugstore, and I didn't see that person doing this thing. Nope.
So yeah, they're just confused, which is fine. I think the puka are a huge
Big upgrade.
They're another kith where you feel a lot of different directions you can go with a piece.
Because
Absolutely.
I felt bad in the first iteration. I felt bad for anybody playing Boggin. Like I was like, oh, you're playing Boggin? Big ups. You're here for the RP because you're not here for anything else. And I felt bad about the puka players because I generally just didn't want to play with them.
Right.
So
Yeah, and as far
with
as
these two
especially the
improvements,
Puka Childlings.
there are plenty
Hashtag no more childlings.
there are plenty of animal and animal human like hybrid things in cryptozoology that I would like to see at the end of their fluff than what's currently there.
Interesting.
This is the one that really just stuck in my craw. I was like, come on, guys. There's
Well, with the crypto-
there's way too much religion and
with the
response to it.
cryptozoology thing. I can't recall if Puka were one of the few that mentioned the Shadow Court sections. Very few did. There was a couple that hinted at it. Maybe, different writers hinting at what I don't know if you're going to get the Thlane in the end product, however far down the road that is. But ogres are mentioned. There's a couple of others. Boggarts are mentioned.
Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they got the same treatment that they got in Werewolf. And I'm not saying that as a bad thing. I actually think that that's good. When it came to BSDs and whatchamacallit, the other things. Jesus Christ.
The pig people?
No, the Fomori. Yes, thank you. Jesus. Anyway, when it came to Fomori and Black Spiral Dancers, I liked that basically you gave a certain selection of powers. You can give them a theme, you can give them some crunch in the allies and antagonists section. Just make them a template. They aren't things that should really be PCs. I mean, I know that everybody wants to make a boggart and then just spend all their downtime kidnapping all the city's children, but how about not? Like,
everyone wants to be an ogre and have all the strengths of the trolls without...
I really don't think Thelaine are appropriate for PCs.
Right.
I agree.
Yeah.
Which means I hope they get the treatment that BSDs and Fomori did, which is
I
their
feel
templates.
like, and it's something, I mean, this is kind of taking the macro, or the...
Bird's eye view.
Yeah, thank you. There is a lot of room for the potential for the Fomorians,
Right.
not the Fomori,
Yeah.
trying to destroy because the way a lot of this is, there's going to be the Dante and the Autumn people as one antagonist faction, and there's going to be the Fomorians coming from the Dreaming, which...
And I think you really need those things. The reason why you really need those, the Dante and the Fomorians, to be really important in the game is because you need that to make the Shadow Court work.
You need to make the Shadow Court work, and you also need it because one of them is a threat from the Dreaming, and one of them is a threat from the
real
world.
Right.
In regard to the Dante. But
here's the thing. If we're
It's on the same...
this is just a personal. This is personal. Right. If we're playing Changeling and you call it the real world, I will slice you. It's the mundane.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you should take a temp penalty for that. But yeah,
Did
we're
I just,
talking
did
about
I just
the
give
game.
you banality? No, I gave you ennui.
We get you new terms.
So, yeah, you do need the counterposing threat. Otherwise, you're just going to push all the Changeling players into Bedlam in an effort to fight the Dante.
Yeah.
So this is a way where neither side likes you. You are the dispossessed child of two worlds.
So this should be easy. Iggy, red caps, go.
So
I love
in the beginning.
What can I say about red caps that hasn't been said about Afghanistan? Used up, depleted.
No, there's plenty of stories there, and that's actually one of the upsides to them. I love the Knights of the Tilted Windmills. Whoever thought that up, you get a free drink from me next time if I ever see you. The idea of having instead of the occasional Sealy red cap that immediately gets jumped by all the unsealy red caps, unless you're a badass enough that it doesn't matter, which Boss Whaley. There's a literal court that's in reaction because they've always been the rebels. In a lot of ways, they're like the Bruja of Changeling, and in fact, their power splat backs it up. They have a potence analog and a celerity analog. They've always been the rebels, and in the face of winter, what is the most rebellious thing to do? To believe in love and spring and hope eternal. They've always been they're made from the dreams of winter and hunger and cold and deprivation and fear, and they've been about that the entire time through eternal summer and through the warm fall. And now that it's winter, the most rebellious thing you can do is be like, we're gonna make it. Surviving in the face of this is rebellion.
And I think at the same time, what I think is a great contrast to the Puka is where you have the Puka being like, we are fucked, we are going Shadow Court, we are going Sealy. For the red caps, it's like, well, this is where we've been. This is where you're catching up to us.
Well, what do you dream about when you're hungry?
Food.
Yeah, not more winter.
Yeah.
That's
right. But I mean, say all the red.
No, but I'm using an eating metaphor very specifically with the red caps because that's
they eat.
Yes.
Well, so here's the thing. There's so many ways that I could see somebody playing a red cap. One, Knight of the Tilted Windmill, you're a big baller badass. Everyone's like, aren't you supposed to be on Sealy? And you lay them the fucking conscious because you believe that you're going to come through this. It's like, this is the hard time. It's the winter. No one's going to make it out alive. I'm an immortal badass. I'm an eternal killing machine. If anybody can make it through the hunger of winter, it's something born of this.
It's gonna be me.
And then there's somebody on the other side of it who's unsealy, who's all like, yeah, like this is like throws away the Sealy code, is super dark, and they're all like, we're the new nobility now. This is our time. We should be in charge. And if you want to live, who are you going to follow? The Children of Summer, the Knights of Summer, to borrow a Game of Thrones reference, the Knights of Summer, or the Children of Winter? Who's gonna see you through to the other side?
I sort of love the idea. I sort of love the idea of the red cap who was always the monster. Nobody liked him, and now Winter's here.
Right.
And now all of a sudden, not only was he right, but suddenly he's like in his element. People are respecting him,
and he doesn't know what to do with it.
Right. I just love that moment of like him suddenly realizing that like everyone is suddenly relying on him for knowledge about.
It's like it's every survivalist weirdo's dream.
Right,
It's like
right.
yeah,
Just weeping in joy as you eat your MRE mac and cheese. I told them all.
No,
Fuck you, Mom.
Like everybody else thought you were wasting your life learning about these weird skills, and then they finally come in handy. And you think that you'd be prepared because you're a prepper. You are prepared. This is what you're about.
Right.
The only thing that you weren't prepared for is leadership.
No.
The thing I really love, and I know we're not talking about the camps specifically.
I talked about the Knights of the Tinted Windmills.
I'm going to talk about the Orthodoxy because
they're the other side.
And the Horde are like, yeah, we're unseelie as fuck. The Orthodox is like, yeah, we're the Shadow Court. We are the cannibals in the Ultralux in
White Glove Society.
the White Glove Society in New Vegas.
I didn't get nearly as much a Wendigo vibe from them, despite all of that, as I did from the fucking Puka.
Well, actually, one thing I want to take a moment. This isn't something in the book. Devs, this isn't you. But it's something I've seen from players on both sides of this. And this is one thing that I think all players and storytellers should keep in mind. And that's when you're building these stories and running around in the secondary world, you want to focus on applicability, not one-to-one correlations.
Yeah.
So you don't... I know there's going to be a player who thinks it's funny to be a MAGA red cap.
Oh, we're talking about this?
I just want to do this briefly. And I know there's players who think that's funny, and then it makes sense, and look at the riff they're doing. And players on the other end will do the same thing. I think one thing that keeps us out of trouble and makes our stories more than just one-to-one references to the real world is keeping a level of abstraction. And I think that's just something really important to keep in mind, of separating yourself a little bit from the day-to-day world, our IRL world.
Yeah.
Don't directly rip things from today's headlines.
It keeps your stories timeless. I mean, and it keeps them...
it makes sure you're not V5.
I will.
I was trying to leave that by implication.
I will
just
gack your banal ass if I see you wearing a MAGA cap. Like, I don't give a shit. Like, I have no problem saying that. If you make a player space uncomfortable for players, I'm gonna make a player space uncomfortable for you. I'm not in the org right now. You can't punish me.
He hasn't joined yet.
Haven't joined yet. Haven't signed the piece of paper. But if I see you using the game to ruin someone's game, I'm gonna use the game to ruin your game.
Heard.
Okay.
But I just think that's an important thing to keep in mind. Don't go for the easy one-to-one thing. If you want to do something more subtle, do something more subtle. But
government's doing a lot of stuff in APOC, and the name of the president, I don't think has ever been mentioned.
Never been established. We've never established the name of the president.
It's the same reason you don't do it in comic books. It looks terrible later, and it just feels weird at the time.
It's whoever Jazz Wentworth is in control.
Right.
If he survived.
But I'm saying when you read comics, and Marvel's done this, and they actually like put Obama in a comic, and you're like,
it actually seemed weird, even though you're like, what? Yeah.
It's like, I get it. I get why you want to do it.
So Muhammad Ali boxing Superman was fun, though.
No, again, it wasn't, because you're taking all of these people
it wasn't
from
fair
the
to
real
Superman.
world.
You're right. He was the greatest.
Obama agreeing with lisping Samuel L. Jackson in The Kingsman.
When you get sort of mired down that, and you try to import the real world, then you have to question. It basically makes the entire setting look more ridiculous.
Just
because
read the first
real world is.
It's also
what ruined one season of Punisher.
Just read Tolkien's introduction to the Lord of the Rings again, about how it's not World War II with the serial numbers filed off. About how alliteration is a weaker form of art. Not alliteration. Allegory. Sorry. Allegory is a weak form of art. Don't use allegory. There's a lot of alcohol in this.
Yeah, pretty strong.
There was a lot of alcohol in this.
Wow. But
hint.
Rant over. Anything else you want to say about red caps?
Your version of a rant.
There's a lot of.
You should be wearing a cardigan.
There's a lot of
with a polite rant like that.
There's a lot of story possibility.
People think I'm super angry.
Oh,
sorry.
That's fine. But there's a lot of story possibility in a Kith that was relentlessly cast as villains in what is their setting, what is their time, and it's a chance to tell stories with them as heroes or even darker villains. Nobody likes the guy who was right and gloats. That's a great villain to play. Nobody likes the guy who told you it was coming. Well, not to rip something from that, but the kind of guy who preps for a disaster and then makes unsavory deals for fuel. Like, that guy is a legit monster, and that's great villain possibility.
Speaking as a royalist, which I, despite the color of my cap, I consider myself largely to be a royalist.
I'll kill and eat you later.
I know you will. My knifey ears. I I think that there's a lot to be said for
By the way, viewers, while he's ruminating, if you have anything to say about the kith we're currently describing or talking about, please mention it. Like, give us stuff to work with. I'd love to answer your questions. They'd love to answer your questions. Give us one.
And we're desperate to try to turbo through these too. Yeah.
So we'll get there. These things go as long as they need to.
Okay. I'm in no rush. I'm having fun.
I'm in a rush.
We'll just do more episodes. I will say that while they pushed it with the Chloricon, I really do see the Red Caps as the better target for the new nobility type of meta story.
Yep.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The Chloricons went from being incredibly problematic to like less problematic, but they have never been popular enough to. Okay, let me put it this way: they're not the Fianna. Don't try to make them the Fianna. Like, it's too 1-to-1. We don't need every genre to have Irishmen who want to be fucking kings. Ooh, was that too real?
I did not see that.
Well, where did that come from?
I'm sorry. I try to keep my salt to a minimum because I know a lot of people out there put a lot of hard work into this stuff, and I don't want them to take it personally. I just want them to make it better.
See, here's the thing. This isn't a 1-to-1 fight. This isn't like one of our viewers says, what about the noble versus red cap fight? It's still there. People desperately holding on to the throne versus people who want the throne, want to eat who's on the throne, want to eat the throne itself. That's a fight that's happening, but this is a more than two-way fight. This isn't like the Fianna and like the Silver.
No, I know.
I know, but let me finish the thought. There's the traditional rulers in the Shi. There's the red caps whose time is now. There's the trolls who have stated before that they were the original nobility and are born of cold and stone. So it's also kind of their time right now. And the Chloricon. It is the Shi were the Knights of Summer. The Shi were the Knights of the Fall. And now, basically, it's anybody's game. Like, because it's not about, like, who do we lead now? We desperately lost the war. It's like, we're going to starve to death, and I'll follow anybody who will feed my children.
Yeah, and I did a good rant about that, of how Changeling seems to be more based on triadic conflicts than like, didactic conflicts. Mm-hmm. I think that's really kind of cool. That usually things have at least three sides to them. It's not really an up versus down, good versus evil sort of thing. There's a little more going on. I think
Seelie,
that's cool.
Unseelie, Shadow, Changelings in the middle, the mundane and the dreaming, a multi-sided fight for the throne. There's so many factions that could faction and spiral and then reform.
Right.
There's a lot going on.
Mm-hmm. What's interesting about Changeling versus the Triad in APOC is that the worm is evil. Full stop.
There's no debate. In world, there's no debate.
Oh, yeah.
The Shadow Court has an argument of, listen, we have the glamour. We will get you through this.
This is literally why we exist, is to get your asses through winter.
We've been telling you for centuries.
And yes, we may have finally caused it to start, but it was coming, guys.
It's better now than 100 years from now. Because that's one of the arguments you can make as a character. It's like we had an endless summer and then a fall that lasted 4 centuries. Mm-hmm. You know, if we had just cycled through winter like we wanted to, it would have been over by now. But you've delayed winter to this point. Now it's going to be centuries and desperate. And there's only one of us that can see.
Well, they can always make the argument that look at the history of the world and see where endless summer and the extended fall got you was a world on the brink of collapse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
right.
And this is nature correcting itself, and you guys should stop fighting us so hard. And I don't know, at least think about a détente.
I think what's really interesting is the Shadow Court can be seen as the people who see the big picture, which A, is eternally consistent for them, but B, really sets them up to get actual evil.
It also
like actual levels of evil.
It
not
also makes them
evil.
kind of banal.
A little bit, yeah.
The other thing that I find interesting, to E's point,
we have really lost the thread a little bit here.
In regards to the trolls, I just want to kind of put the three on the spectrum. The trolls, which we're going to get to later, are very interesting put in the middle of the red caps and the Shi. Because the new nobility of the red caps versus the old nobility of the Shi, and the commonalities between both. The trolls kind of have a foot in both worlds.
I honestly see them as, again, to use a werewolf analog, as the political position of the Silent Striders. Is if you win the trolls, you win.
Yeah.
Satyrs.
All right, so like I said, one of the things I wanted to talk about was what this slice did well, and what they were willing to sacrifice and throw away. I think, rightfully so, to make this an updated that's better for our player base and better for us as storytellers, better for us as adults.
For the live
responsible.
action environment, you have to make sacrifices. Yeah.
'Cause there's some stuff you can get away with in a small tabletop with people you trust, but like even then, I still wouldn't want Aphrodisia. I don't see it. I hope it never comes back. And I've said that
No,
before.
it should
We
come
all
back
agree.
in absolutely no
So say we
form.
are.
It was the vestiges of it were cut out of the Kitsune power, and it should any power like that or that uses that kind of verbiage should be immediately expunged
Tell me
from
how
the
you
Book
really
of
feel
Life.
So yeah, no. So here's the thing: the problems we had with the Kitsune were right away up front in a specifically different colored block dealt with, and it just said consent right across it,
Yeah.
and that is something that was in addition to getting rid of Childlings, getting rid of Aphrodisia, slapping the word consent right across the front of Satyr
absolutely.
shows that
Yeah.
you listen, you've like the game has grown up. You've listened to the requests of the player base. You guys have stepped up, and I'm not. I will cringe less. I will sugarcoat. There were times where I wanted to bring people to Changeling, and I just couldn't. Because
Yeah.
and me especially is like.
Would you like to join me and my rapidly becoming middle-aged friends pretend to be 8-year-olds?
Or
That
would you like
sounds
to,
a fun
Would you like to
afternoon.
join me and my rapidly approaching middle-aged friends using supernatural powers to make people attracted to us? Some of whom are pretending to be children. Yeah, cuff me. Like some of us are teachers. We can't do this shit.
I have played those offensive characters, and in retrospect, I regret it so much. It was just
You
I
were
didn't really-
you playing those characters with, and you played it with restraint, but you lampshaded. Robin played it with restraint. You lampshaded like this could go bad. You're
Yes.
lucky it's just me.
You were a cautionary tale. The
Yeah.
problem is that there are the actual like real creeps out there who like they're not doing it to highlight the problem of the system or to like misuse powers to show that they need to be like eroded. There are people who are just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna hurt some people with this power, and that's what Aphrodisia was
It's
for
like,
me.
I'm gonna love some people.
Oh
with these
god, well
powers.
yeah.
Let me, if I can tell you a story about
You healed me
18-year-old
once.
me
You're
playing
my
my first
girlfriend
character,
now.
which is a Satyr.
Only if you show me pictures later.
Sure.
and this is all in context that we love that BNS is cleaning this
You-
up.
yes,
yes.
Let's
Oh.
contextualize.
You fixed it,
This
and
is
I'm
praise.
grateful.
Just
So-
to make that super text.
So the first time I played Changeling, I had no idea what the fuck was going on. And I was an art student, and I thought satyrs are fucking cool. And I was just like, okay, cool.
Oh wait, we're
Art-
doing satyrs. All right, here out.
yeah, yeah.
Shake it out.
Here,
now
uh,
they can see your
hold on,
eyes.
hold on.
There we go.
And you just started a new job.
What?
Yeah.
That's trimmed.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
seen him untrimmed.
So I played a satyr,
Christ-like, really. Sorry.
and there were a lot of interactions that I didn't get because the concept of a character being a childling made no fucking sense to me. Like I couldn't conceptualize that you and I are both in this space, and I'm being like, I'm like, hey, like I'm trying to like get you involved in something, and I'm like, you're playing a child.
I wouldn't want you involved in combat. Like
Right, exactly. Like much less like and
Video
it,
crashed again. Keep talking. You're doing fine.
yeah, I it's something that
your hair crashed the video.
Yeah.
it is
Too many pixels.
too many pixels. Long
Thank
story
God me
short,
and Brian are balancing the scales.
long story short, there were correct IC reactions that I didn't get, and it took me, and I stepped away from Changeling, and it took a great storyteller. Shout out to Jilly. It took a great storyteller to kind of bring me back into the fold to make me understand what the game was actually about.
When it was frozen, could you guys hear what we were talking
Yeah,
about?
they can still hear you.
Okay.
Yeah.
The mic's still on. For some reason, it's either putting the camera to sleep or it's on now.
Hey, welcome back.
You're back.
I think we need less than 2 cameras. We need 1 camera.
It's not the problem with the camera. Those just shorten the wire, and so it just shorts every once in a while.
Oh,
Hurt.
It's fine.
But yeah, I think that what they've done with the satyrs is very good. I think the utter lack of Aphrodisia is
Oh,
a benefit to all.
it shows that lessons have been learned, and those learned lessons are greatly appreciated.
I can absolutely say that it and the message that sends is probably my favorite thing.
Yes.
It's-
Actually, let's just do this. You ready?
no.
Well done.
Sometimes taking out is hard. Like, I'm sure there was somebody who really played Aphrodisia super well with a satyr, and like I'm sure that there was some.
How could we be in a game talking about stories and not love stories?
I play in another game. I'm not going to mention the game's names, but I play in another game that's undergoing a big shift, and it's undergoing that shift because they want to remove something from the game that many people find offensive. In this particular instance, it's slavery. They want to remove that from the game, and there's a lot of people who are saying like, this is kind of ridiculous. We're bowing to PC culture. Why are we doing something for hurt fifis? And it's like. A, it's lazy. You don't need it. B, there are plenty of ways to play villain without having a slaver. C, if it actually is hurting a significant portion of your player base, if it's hurting them, then why do you need it?
I mean, that should be enough.
D or actually,
yeah, like it should. Like you're here voluntarily, and in some cases you're paying membership dues. You're paying money. People are there for a good time. If other people are having a bad time, it should matter. We should all be stewards of each other's good time. And if you're not a steward of each other's, I don't want to play with you. Go away.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
and I can say that because I'm not in yet.
So,
all right. So next up,
do we have anything we actually want to say about satyrs?
Sorry.
I mean, they toned them down.
They
were
responsible
a little bit. I find them. They still have an intrinsic problem of being like the hedonism bot kith, of like. You're a bunch of moody divas who just want to throw sex parties.
But it's not just sex party. I mean, like,
no, I know.
They do a lot of
drug
parties.
They do everything to excess.
The party like a rock star is a valid part of the dreaming. It's a valid part of the game.
I completely
They
understand
take life and they live the shit out of it.
I just want to see. Well, I guess the easiest way to deal with it is to hope that pukas end up in the hands of responsible players.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing I want to say very quickly before we move on to the she.
We could just skip that.
No, we can't.
They lost, dude. Let it go.
I like a lot of what's going on with Revelry. We'll get to it later, but I feel like it needs a little bit more. But let's talk about the she.
What is the satyr frailty?
The satyr frailty is they can resist anything except temptation. Every satyr has a special vice chosen by the player that burns into their subconscious. Should a satyr refuse this special temptation, willpower pool is reduced by 1 for the rest of the game session or until it is indulged. It may change over time with ST approval. It should be broad enough so that they're confronted with it semi-regularly. Should the opportunity to indulge become rare, the player and the storyteller should work together to devise a more common temptation.
So this is going to be laying heavily into storyteller hands because there's still potential there for it to get out of hand. But that potential to get out of hand is also potential for a great story about unbridled passion.
Absolutely.
And that's if anything describes satyr, it's risking everything for unbridled passion.
Yeah, and I think that word passion is, it's an important word because we shouldn't be afraid of the extremes of human emotion just because there's some stuff we don't want in our games.
You should be able to. It shouldn't be puerile.
Right.
That's the issue.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
Love stories are great stories. They very seldom include, like, I don't know, a bunch of dick jokes or awkward sex talk at a LARP, though. So you gotta dial your purileness back to, like, reasonable levels and focus on the fact that it's about passion, it's about high drama. Look, anybody who's watched a telenovela can see something that, like, a satyr could easily be addicted to. It's
like telenovelas.
Literally. No, that's what I'm saying.
Mod is the shit.
Is that they could be like, oh my god, this is the high drama I need in my life. And that's not even his baby. Like, all of that stuff is huge. No, and that is drama. Those are love stories. It's not just
fuck boys the kith.
They said it.
Listen, but it doesn't have to be that way, and you can rise above. You could be addicted to music. You could tell stories about addiction. Mm-hmm. You want to talk about something that you can go down a dark path with, that you can tell a moving story about. Mm-hmm. Somebody a great changeling who could have been an artistic hero who let addiction destroy him, or somebody that overcomes that addiction. That's a great story to tell, and I think it's incredibly pertinent now. I've seen a lot of my friends. Some of them have been in the gaming community. Some of them have not struggled with addiction, and it's a story that they would like to see. It's a story that I think deserves to be told, and it doesn't have to be just dick jokes. It can be about overcoming your addiction to passions, or it could be about what happens when you don't. Cautionary tale or motivational one.
Absolutely. So now the only kith that matters, she.
I thought you said matters, not failed.
I mean, to be fair, it is. They are essentially, if the game had a protagonist,
The game
be
was
the
called
trolls.
The Shining Host. The Shining Host is the she.
It would be the trolls.
well, okay.
Well, I think
mean,
what's
there's a lot-
most
Using our analog from before with the two.
No,
of the
that
trolls
would
in
be
the
if
middle.
the story had heroes.
Honestly,
I said protagonist.
one of the most
Brutal.
one of the most interesting things about the she write-up that we have here is it really is the one that tells us the most about the meta plot. It tells us a little more about David. We get a little sense of what happened to him.
Ooh.
We get a sense of what's happened with the Shadow Court. I mean, the beta, as it shouldn't, doesn't have much on the meta of the game, the actual story of the world. So you have to pick and choose here and there. And she actually have more of that than any of the other kits, I think. They really dig into it a little bit, telling you a little bit
Well,
more
they tell
about how
things
we
by
got here.
inference, which is good
Yeah.
because that leaves storytellers and eventually staff the ability to craft a story around that, but still have a wireframe to hang things from, like so that it's logically consistent.
I think that the she have the greatest potential for telling a tragic story out of any of the kits.
I mean, yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
but like, no, I mean, like, and I think that's something that's missed because everybody's all like, you could be the hero, you could be the king, you could be the badass, you could be the tragic Greek hero. Like, imagine being something designed to rule, made to be a leader, and then realizing that maybe the people that were supposed to follow you were better off not. Maybe the best way you can lead is by bending the knee yourself. Realizing that you're unable to do so even if it destroys everybody, or having to face up to your failures as a king, admit them, and then change.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of good stuff in here, but I'm still left with the question, and I think this is a question that needs to be answered by players, not necessarily the book. And that's, what does a she look like after they made their heroic last stand and it didn't work? You know, Autumn ended. They were not able to hold on. David is gone and dead.
He's not
Like-
dead yet.
I mean, in many ways, the role playing elements there are, and this isn't a werewolf analog. This is a vampire one. It's a lot like the Sabbat, where it's like, hey, guess what? Didn't work.
The antediluvians didn't really rise. It's just...
And when they did, we didn't fucking matter.
Yeah.
Not even a little bit. Humans took care of it. Sometimes fucking wizards. We completely screwed the pooch. Our whole goal didn't work.
Yeah.
All of this, like, all of our previous infighting didn't fucking matter.
Yeah.
Like, we need to have a return, simultaneously, a return to some sort of political orthodoxy, which I like what they did with that system, which is like, just don't get positions if you're a loyalist. Also, just have a new political faction. But they have to roll with that, and how they roll with that is going to be huge. One of the concepts I've been toying with is playing a really straight man, young, like, she noble type of whose chief concern is going to be less about rulership and more about building bridges. I mean, I made that meme on Meme Generator real quick. Commenters be like, survive winter, finally take down those goddamn nobles. And it's like, I could
We
see
can
some,
survive winter by eating the nobles.
I can see some
Well,
very
this is-
sober leaders rising with a new politic way of speaking that's very much hot right now.
But that's the best heroic story. You failed. You're down in the dirt. You got beat. Standing back up, admitting it, and then saying, "We're gonna forge onwards." That's heroism.
We're going to do better this time.
I think I think that the she also offer us one of the greatest challenges of this game for us as players and storytellers, and that is trying to make people dig nobles in America, where we don't really have a history of understanding what nobles are and how to make that work.
I'm gonna make a bold statement.
Okay.
I'm gonna say that the success, the rise or fall, the playability of Changeling, if it ever becomes like an actual game, and or what, it depends on the quality and character of the she players. The buy-in for the whole game is going to be equal. If it's going to be equal to the buy-in for the she. If the she players don't come hard, it can't work.
And I think that's something we're kind of stuck with. I do agree that there is definitely some truth to that. I think the book and the storytellers have to give them the materials for that. And there has to be reason why somebody bending the knee... See, we hear the phrase, bend the knee. We think of utter supplication, failure.
I think of fealty.
But I understand that. But the general feeling on the player base is that, like, feudalism is alien, old, wrong, just somehow dirty. And
writers, staff, and everybody involved...
they have to make it work.
But they have to do so with the knowledge that the game is going to be played by Americans.
Yes. That's my
who
point.
are, I mean, I'm one, are argent regicides do not like the fundamental...
Only when the last king... I'm sorry.
Right, who fundamentally, monarchy, nobility, aristocracy, chafes at everything it is. Any good part of America
I'm going to argue
is
with you.
I am
captured
too.
by the nobility.
Do you want to go first?
Yeah,
Rock, paper,
I'll give
scissors.
Because I think in a lot of ways, this
1,
is
2,
the
3,
argument.
Yes.
I mean, this is the
Okay,
argument
sorry.
at the core of making
Let's
this.
do this.
At the core of
Bullshit.
making this game
Bullshit.
work.
Because it's the birthright aspect of it. Maybe that's the bad part of monarchy. But political dynasty, I know.
Okay.
Political dynasties, getting that leg up, charismatic families, Kennedys, the Obamas. How many Bushes have been in office? Like, we have political dynasties, whether we call them president or not.
Let's go back to, for a brief moment in the time machine, to my own Facebook page of 2 political dynasties. The Bushes and the Clintons shouldn't be handing the presidency back and forth. That's not healthy for democracy.
No, it's...
I just feel like you're agreeing with me in a different way.
But there's another aspect to it, and it's the winter aspect of it. And this is going to require storyteller buying, not player buying. Feudalism happens when disasters like this happen.
Yes.
It depends on whether or not the storytellers will stick to their guns, make glamour hard, and make players have to gang up, fight, follow charismatic and skilled leaders to just survive.
This is actually something I saw in the book that I think, while it's nothing wrong with how it's written in the book, is exactly the problem. Because there's something in the book about getting your glamour back at a balefire, and the line is like, but the noble who owns the balefire might not want to let you sit.
Or the commoner who might.
But that is wrong. Because it shouldn't be. It should be the opposite. Instead of it being a negative that the noble keeps you away from, it should be sold as a positive that the noble provides.
Earn the favor of that noble, an opportunity.
Right.
Like, you could positively sell that.
As you're saying, feudalism and things like organized tribalism, organized crime, these are all the same concept in human behavior.
Well, it's all
and they
kissing
develop,
the ring.
Yeah.
You can call it. Whether it's the mafia, whether it's the Shi,
but it develops from the system breaking down and strongmen, which is what we're talking about. Strongmen coming to power and taking that power, holding on to that power, and that needs to be baked into the game.
And it's not even just strongmen, because you need the buy-in from the weaker men.
Yes,
because it's like
it's the buy-in for the weaker men that makes it work.
The choice is because they're at a certain point. It's all right. So there's a lot of games where you could play where no matter what happens, you can just play your own game. And a different other game that I'm playing, there's plenty of chance. Like, what's the thing that they were No, it was Bucky that says it. The people who come to the game and they don't interact, they knit.
Oh yeah.
So there can't be that in Changeling. There can't be, because if you let that happen, if you let people do their own thing, then they'll choose to do their own thing. If they have to choose, I have to follow A, B, or C, or starve. Or starve has to be an option. And it has to be something that a player can choose. It's like, I would rather starve. Great. That's a great story to tell. I would rather starve is a great story to tell. Yeah. And it also informs everybody else's choices, because they get to see you slowly slip into banality or desperately fall into bedlam because you don't want to go that way. You get to see or starve.
Right.
But that has to be held
or
by the
starve has to be at the
table.
And the other thing, and I actually want to push back on something you said before, which is that the Shi working relies on the Shi players. And in a lot of sense, yes, that's a force of personality, that's a leadership thing. The problem is that I don't think that's sustainable, generally. What you need is the nobles aren't good or bad. The nobles need to be something that exists and needs to exist. And the game world is better because of what they provide. They have to be load-bearing. They have to have strong crunch behind them that everyone needs them around.
If the narrative is painted nobility versus commoners, and you play the game in North America,
the commoners are going to
win.
They're going to eat.
Always going to outnumber them.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things that just has to be accepted as the game state. I think we strayed very far from the initial
we did
point.
it.
But
and
the other
Brian
thing
has
is,
something he wanted to say.
I did want to dovetail real quick into resources. The other thing is, everybody said Gnosis is going to be hard to get.
Yeah.
And they're saying glamour is going to be hard to get, and blood might be hard to get in some games. And the reality is,
it's not.
Not only is it not, it never is. It just fucking isn't. As long as there's a background that spits it out, or a machine that gives you some of it, or whatever. Part of me wants to tamp down the specialness of banality in how it's talked about, because I That's just not the way it's going to be in the wild. It's not going to be a super special thing to see somebody create glamour in the world, not when you have a background that gives you fucking 5 of it.
And a lot of this, I think, to some extent, this is less game mechanics than we've been through Vampire a couple times. We've been through Werewolf.
Yes.
We've seen the BNS system in the wild. We've seen the BNS system in the wild.
Well, not only doesn't it work, but
It doesn't exist.
it doesn't exist. It was
works?
actively fought against. There were too many things to eliminate scarcity.
Yeah.
The moment scarcity looked like it might be an issue, or like, I don't know, some of these
As
powers
long
are
as
gonna-
there's a herd background, scarcity is dead.
Yeah, it's
As
not a
long
good
as that
story.
background exists.
Here's the other thing. All these stories about starving. Yeah. I don't like you. I don't like your noble. I don't like your stupid face. But you know what? I spent, I don't know, what, 10, 15 XP on backgrounds? I don't fucking need you.
Yep.
This
that's
whole winter's a fucking joke. Guys, just buy herd. Like,
Well, that's not necessarily true, but that is the concern.
no.
I'm not saying. I'm stating it as a concern, not a statement of fact.
It's not true yet.
Right.
But when we get artifact rules, they're probably going to have Gnosis batteries or, glamour batteries. There's going to be ways to store stuff. There's going to be ways to generate it. There's going to be backgrounds that give it to you. And if you know that, don't write the game like the stuff is an oasis in the desert. Because it ain't. It's going to be the same thing of trying to pitch Gnosis is hard to get or blood is hard to get. It just isn't going to work.
Honestly,
Or if you make it rare and stop giving merits and rules to just
honestly
candy cannon out glamour.
One bold thing I talked about during the alpha, and I still think there's some element of something that would work here, is it's winter. The only thing that generates glamour is balefire. Nobles control the balefires. You've solved both problems at once.
Commoner freeholds all fell?
No, maybe not commoner free. Maybe there are some commoner freeholds, and they've been adopted into the nobility because we now know non-she are nobles now. But my point is, if you really want to choke off the glamour economy, and I know there's some fun element that requires people to have the ability to use their powers, so you have to be able to find a way that they can get their powers, and that can still be controlled.
Right.
So you need to choke on, but you do need to choke on it in world, and I really think.
No, I like that.
Let people go on a complex quest to get Gnosis, or let them get it from a balefire.
How do
Nothing
kings,
else.
How do kings
I've
get
been
vassals or rascals? How do you get your bully boys?
You feed them. You
Right.
farm
them.
I have
Yes.
a balefire. Who are the 4 toughest people in this room? Cool. You all get as much glamour as you want from the balefire, as long as you make sure nothing happens to me.
And that's literally how feudalism formed in the real world.
Yes.
Yes.
So you go ahead first.
Okay.
You've been waiting patiently.
So this is going to go like way back, take a couple steps back.
Go ahead.
So 1783.
Oh my god, I didn't know that many.
Hamilton. Not Hamilton, Washington.
The Whiskey Rebellion?
No. So
I'm just
From
saying,
Hamilton,
the
right?
Whiskey Rebellion?
the
Oh, the Whiskey Rebellion.
I have
Coffee-
rum.
The-
We
I
want
have rum,
coffee
which
and
is a
more
project
booze.
in the
The
Triangle
Whiskey
Trade.
say.
The Whiskey Rebellion.
The Whiskey Rebellion.
Brian Gang's gonna talk.
I'll see if there's
If
any
you don't
coffee
give
left.
me whiskey, there will be a fucking rebellion.
I heart you.
If you have rum, I would like some. So
Well, I mean, wait. Oh,
No, Brian's talking.
at the end of the conceit that a lot of this conversation started with before we went way out there
Into like government.
was that Americans don't buy into royalty and fealty. In 1783, the revolution was over, and they said, "Hey, George, you're our king now," and he said, "Fuck you."
But there's been 200 years of nothing.
There's
and
been
we
20
essentially worship him for that.
Correct, but there are a lot of royalty analogs that we use that aren't like we say royalty is bullshit. We also say, "Oh my god, it's a royal wedding."
Gentlemen.
Oh my god. Oh, she's an American. We have people who joke with like, "Oh hey, this is the long game to get the United States back in part of England." It sounds stupid, but there's a lot of stuff like,
I'm sorry.
like people talk about like we were talking about the Kennedys and the Obamas and the Clintons and
the Bushes.
and the
Americans
Bushes.
love celebrities too.
And Americans love celebrities.
Yes, and everybody elevates certain people to stardom. Even the ancient Greeks, they built statues to Milo and Deimos Xenos, and they were effectively the sports stars that everybody complains about now being too up-trumped, and they were made into demigods. So yes, some people are going to be put on a pedestal. However,
We believe
the fundamental, the American exceptionalism, the Americanism that makes people believe in this country, even when we criticize it and want better leaders, is that for all of our foibles and for how deeply flawed all of our systems are, we at least wrote down that people were supposed to be equal
Yeah.
under the law. And then if you go to England,
Wasn't true.
they have a bunch of documents that not only don't even bother paying lip service to that, but argue quite the other way. No, we aren't all equal. Some people are better than you by accident of birth.
And none of that matters after 9 meals. 9 missed meals.
Well, now we're back to the glamour issue. I mean, like...
It's all about whether or not we can sell hunger.
Yeah, well, I honestly don't think... I think you can politicize glamour, and you can... glamour, and
We've
honestly...
already politicized grammar.
Yes.
Well, sorry to cut in, but
give those tools to the she. That will make them matter. That's
oh, there's a lot. Well,
points.
this is the last. I guess. Well, I'll let you respond after.
Right, there was something in the Shining Host original player's guide.
Yeah.
And it was one of the things that made me hate and yet find the she very interesting. The dreaming's not fair. It's just not.
Yeah.
There was a specific treasure, a pennant, where the she could just write out to your freehold, your common or freehold that you own,
And take it.
and just put it down and say, "I challenge your best dude to a fight. You fight, you lose, it's mine. You don't fight, it's still mine because the dreaming favors my feudalism."
Do you have a flag?
Yeah, it's basically, do you have a flag as a treasure? And it was like cheap too. And it's like anybody with a title, any low-born cur, like, well, not low-born, squire.
I mean, that would be the only people who could do
Well,
it.
any squire or
Any
knight
highborn cur
could just walk up and be like, "Do you have a flag? Are you willing to fight over it?" And so, like, Boggins and, like, the little cute little motleys of Boggins and Pukas and whatever had a choice. Either we get behind the trolls who may go the she way, or we have to start paying the red caps. You had to have a strong man.
Absolutely. Last point I want to make on this whole monarchy feudalism thing. 2 things. One, as a game mechanic, you can't have everybody walking around with no gnosis all game, not glamour all game. It's not going to fly.
No.
Right. But 2, that does not preclude a faction having a basic stranglehold over it that they have to give you under the terms of the oath. So
Yes.
As part of your vassalage, they have to give you that gnosis. So you give them the faucet, but you also don't let them turn it off. But it becomes part of the world as opposed to
The balefire can do other things.
Yeah.
It heals banality.
yeah.
The people are falling into the forgetting. How do I have a love who's falling into the forgetting. There's only one way I can heal. It's that Mr. Freeze moment.
Right.
Where it's all like, I'll do anything if you fix it.
But it needs to be that the noble isn't just being a dick for withholding it. That's what I'm
Absolutely.
saying. Okay.
Can I end onto that?
And this will be the last thing we say about the shit.
Okay. Damn it. Well, the she and glamour.
Well, we got
the thing is that
We'll get back to the sheet.
having glamour to use your powers is going to be fundamental to like wanting to play the game. You don't want to have to maintain a whole sheet and powers that you're never going to use. That said, being able to fill up after every fight, regardless of how many fights there are, is the problem. And right now, in every other setting, even when it's supposed to be scarce or have some sort of significance, it simply doesn't. It just doesn't. So if they want glamour to be significant, you can walk into a session with full glamour, but you're not walking out of the session with full glamour. And that's an important distinction. And look, good mechanics don't make a good game, but bad mechanics definitely hurt a game.
I mean, like, you can, like, just being near something with banality can drain your glamour. It's up to the STs to be like, "Oh, you walked past the DMV. Sucks to be you for a minute. Give me that glamour."
Well, I mean, it's only 9 and 10 now. It's a lot more restricted than it used to be. Thank God, because the game, if you ran it as written with banality, it was a real fucking headache.
Well,
But let's move on.
that's fair. All right, next. Trolls? No, Slua.
Sorry, Slua. Well, they were so quiet. I didn't notice they were there.
They were behind you the whole time.
My favorite not quite Russians, just like they're as Russian as the Silverfangs are Russian.
Very, very, very quickly, we were
Rhinos.
The Alunan are finally on Sealy. That's
I mean,
okay.
The
All right.
Lunid were always on
Unseen.
Sealy.
okay.
So Slua. I think they're the other side of the bargain. And I say that, like, there was a pitch, there was the sale in the Shining Host, the original one, of like the idea of Slua assassins.
Yeah.
I never bought it. I never bought it. It was just not a thing that actually happened in the wild. I didn't see it. I was never impressed
Well,
by
in the
it.
wild, they were like the Nos/Korax,
Yeah.
rumor mills, and they're
They could. Well, let me finish. They could fit through holes. They were very bendy. Great. Yeah, but they also shared secrets at high tea. Like,
You just imagine they were always tacky.
Yeah.
like to the touch,
They
not
were-
like fashion wise.
They sold them as dark, like crust gothic assassins, and they were just shitty Cure fans.
Do goths have crust punks or the equivalent? Because that's
Yeah,
essentially what
It's crust
Slew are.
goth. Yeah,
Crust goth?
I guess.
I don't know if that's a thing, but
it is now.
my problem is that the other thing is I didn't get to really read their whole section, besides like enough to complain about the Russian thing. But their old central issue was that their central tragedy was that they had lost the ability to change shape, and now, again, they could just get a power that lets them do that. Like,
The whispering thing is spooky, I guess. Here's the thing. Now they are actually like with their affinities, they can be scary now.
Mm-hmm.
Like the idea of a Boggin security master and a slew assassin playing cat and mouse with nobody else really knowing at a big game event, with the slew assassin trying to gank some noble and the Boggin honor bound to stop it. And like it's no longer about like the red cap killing crew and the troll bodyguard. That can still happen. That's obvious. But this is the cat and mouse shadow game.
I still
that
feel
they
like
should,
the
they
World
should
of
do.
Darkness sewers are crowded. There's just like Slua, Ratkin, and Nosferatu all going to work.
Compact to the dark, bitch.
They're doing like the Looney Tunes
they all
thing
have-
where
no,
like
there's plenty
the
of room.
sheepdog and the wolf are both punching. They're like, "Hey Sam, hey Frank, hey what are you doing? I'm spying on the autumn houses. What are you doing? There's a Camarilla guy I gotta go assassinate. I feel you, man. See you for lunch? Sure thing. Punch card.
There's
Back
plenty
to
of
the
room because Russia's huge.
Yeah,
You don't realize it, but Russia's a very large country, and all of it's one sewer system.
Just it's one line
Yeah,
specifically.
yeah.
It's
One
a very
line.
it's a very inefficient sewer
The
system.
Trans-Siberian Railroad is just the top of the pipe.
Y'all just gave me an idea for a beta demo game. I have an idea for a beta demo game.
It's Metro 2029,
that
but
I'm
it's
going to
fluent.
share. That I'm going to be looking for 2 people of our fan base, 2 people to help me finish writing it and then pitch it to Brian.
Did you just turn gaming with us into a contest? Because you better dial in now. You're not getting it. No, I don't know. I just
You can buy the whole seat, but all you'll need
Is the edge.
So I'm gonna be looking for 2 people among our viewers to help me finish writing out this game. I have an idea. Most of you have probably seen it, and then I want to be able to present in finished form to Brian and see if he'll even run it. That'll
Well,
be fun.
I have no title or
Yeah.
ability to run Changeling at all.
For funsies,
Oh, for fun? Yeah, for funsies. Yeah, that would be why. Yeah.
just a playtest
Yeah,
funsies.
I love funsies.
Just it's a one-shot game.
I'm
If you're-
Mr. Funsies.
It's a one-shot game. If you're interested, send me a message. If there's a bunch of interest, which there might be, then I'll figure out a way for us to decide who gets the short straw and has to help me.
Right. And congrats, your staff.
Oh, literally what happens.
As again, I didn't get to deep dive into them. I like the Slua. They fill a natural niche. They're good. I'd like to see their flaw actually played more often because it's one of those things that generally gets played at scenes where people are watching and then like is immediately forgotten.
One thing I'm
Is
desperately.
that still their frailty?
No, it's just the quiet thing.
Yeah.
One thing I really miss and I'm really looking forward to, like this will be the moment I know Changeling is back, is the first real good Slua high tea I can sit in on. Like that's gonna be the moment for me. Like
You just
a
want to
really
with the-
good
with
high
the
tea.
you just want
and-
another excuse to wear something in tweed.
This is 100% cashmere.
By the way, Brian.
100%
Slua,
cashmere.
Cardigan. High tea. I mean, I don't know why you even think about playing other kits.
Tell you what. At a promise that you'll have a demo game where you show up at the high tea if they throw it, and then let's see what happens.
I think that would be lovely. I look forward to someday there being maybe a game at a con if MES ever decided to run Changeling, which is possible.
I
Just
would be very much for that. I think MES should grab onto this and the hype and the members that we'll bring back.
Brian, show up to my demo game. Bring hi hat.
Don't say his name. Why would you say his name?
just very quickly, just to go through the. I know we're not talking about arts yet,
Yeah.
or tonight possibly, because it's getting pretty late.
No. I have to go home.
Soothsay, Dread, and Skullduggery, perfect.
Yeah.
Oh
no,
yeah.
The,
I mean,
Yeah.
the
It
assassin
gives you-
game is strong.
It gives you.
they're
everything-
also they can be suitably creepy.
yes. Trolls.
I'm just saying they could take what is it, metamorphosis and transform into things.
Oh,
And even
true. Trolls are such a good kith. They're just so fucking good.
They're great story wise. They have obvious flavor nods.
So flexible.
You can think about what you want to wear as costuming the second I say you're playing a troll, and they're backed up by some serious powers.
Yes.
Like, they're the potent fort caitiff of your dreams that also changes shape.
Yeah.
You know what I always thought them at? They're basically like what the she or the venturer always want. The she got it in the form of trolls. Whoever wants to be in charge needs the trolls. There was never really an equivalent in the rest of the World of Darkness that there were basically a faction that were like, well, we're loyalists. Loyalists to who? Well,
We're loyal to the crown.
we're loyal to the crown. It's up in the air.
We're
Who's
loyal
got
to
crown?
we're loyal to the dream.
Right.
Right.
So, I like trolls. I think they're great. I like that. Now, by the way, again to harken
Somebody
back to
said Get a Fenris is like as the
trolls.
As the 1-to-1 for trolls, as the kingmaker, the people that back up the.
That's what the Red Talons were. The Red Talon fluff is fuck, kill all humans. But like their political
but
thing
both
is
Shadow Lords and Silverfangs.
we support the leadership. That their political thing is Red Talon, not.
All right, so here's the thing that I love about the trolls.
Yes, in my opinion.
Here's the thing I love about the trolls.
Everything.
Sort of. But it was in my imagination, in my background, it was spring once. Mm-hmm. And the trolls were faced with the same question that the she are faced with at the beginning of winter now. Mm-hmm. We might not be the best people to lead. And we can tear apart the dreaming having a war, or we can bend the knee and swear fealty and then lead the people who depend on us to a better future. They had the same choice that the she have right now. And they made the noble one. It might not have been the right one.
And it's explicitly here, and I love that. Yeah.
But they made the noble one. And now they're considering the consequences of that choice.
Yes.
They're thinking maybe we should be the ones to lead now. Now, are the she going to be able to do that back? Are they constitutionally even capable of doing that?
Right.
Is that the right choice? And then there's
It's
also
a great open question for a game.
Yeah.
And
I mean, it's one of the absolute core questions of the game.
And then there's the antipathy that has been running as a thread through the game since the beginning. The antipathy between the Red Caps and the Trolls.
Yeah.
Are the Trolls willing to admit they've been wrong about the Red Caps? Because if they bend the knee to if they agree to follow the Red Caps, it's over. The question is settled. It's all over but the slow singing and the bell ringing for the she. Mm-hmm. Or do they go the third way and say, we're in charge now? Because that would be a three-way war. Do they honor their oaths that their ancestors made to the she? Not them.
Right.
Do they honor those oaths? Do they agree that it's time for the people who've been talking about winter the longest to lead in the Red Caps? Or do they say the noblest way is ours and we never should have given it up?
I just thought of this. There's actually a huge generational thing in the trolls.
Yeah.
Because any troll who's older than so many years as a changeling is going to be under oaths to the she. It's the younger trolls that becomes the real big question.
And that's where they'll fight because the Code of Dagda says that if you the Code of Dagda is a thing that the trolls have. I don't know if you've never played, but basically the trolls in the original game were so widely outclassing everybody else in a fight that I think in order for fairness and for flavor, for chivalric flavor, whenever there was a fight, the trolls would fight each other first, and then they would fight everybody else. Because like if the trolls fought and one side clearly won, then the other arm would be like, fuck it, the trolls we're done.
Right.
So now there's going to be a Code of Dagda political and physical fight between the old guard trolls, the Illidan's and the Legends, and the new ones.
Who might even agree with the younger trolls, but they're oath bound.
And this is why have to fight.
And this is why oaths have to have serious pop behind them.
Yeah.
Because for this conflict to exist, oaths have to have real teeth.
Do oaths age out? No, but the person you swore them to could die.
Yeah, that's
right.
That's always the easiest out for a troll. It's like a shame if anything happened to the guy.
No, like somebody died, and the oath wasn't sworn to the house or in perpetuity. It was to like if I was a troll and I was defeated by David during that whole era, I swore to protect and defend David. David's gone.
Yeah.
Now I'm free of my oaths, and that. For a troll, it's both the most freeing thing. It's awesome. It's terrifying. It's the wild card of the political landscape, and it's horrifying because to a large degree, there's a freedom in the servitude to your oaths. I don't have to make this choice. I just have to suffer the consequences.
Right.
But now they can make choices to a large degree as factions, and that is both terrifying for them and terrifying to anybody who wants to play the political spectrum of Changelings.
Absolutely.
I think that's a really interesting question. Yeah.
The other really interesting thing about the trolls through this whole thing, they give us the most concrete piece of meta plot for this story.
Yes, you can swear an oath to a concept.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Houses are concepts.
With the Order of the Fisher King and David's soul returning after his death, that is a key point to what the future of this game. You know, are we going to is it going to matter?
Yeah.
Right.
If in my wildest dreams, David comes back as a red cap. That's my wildest dreams, because that's just a three-way brawl.
You're a half mad, half crazy. Mad.
That's a three-way brawl. If David's soul comes back as a red cap, what happens?
Well, he would also be the first she that we know of to come back.
Yeah.
Like ever. Like in Changeling period.
Full stop.
She don't come back.
In some of the slew of fluff, didn't they say that they believe that people that Changeling souls went through a hierarchy, and it started off with she, and it ends with Slew, and then it's just over.
Right. The other thing always had that. Yeah.
The other thing that's really interesting, and it's tough to tell whether it's a factor of different writers having different opinions, or them coming together to say these characters have different opinions. The satyrs are just like, fuck, this is it. Like, when I go out, it's like, you know, the Rite of the Winter Wolf. It's like, this is it. We are in winter and I'm not coming back. The She are saying, hey, we're accepting the Changeling way and hoping that we come back.
Yeah, and I really hope the material doesn't give a strong answer on that. I really hope that's left ambiguous. Please leave it ambiguous.
So, all right, are the trolls the last one?
Yes.
Yeah, the last in the alphabet.
So here's the thing I'm going to say. All right, so the She leadership, in some people's political opinion, has failed. The troll leadership failed before the She, in some people's political opinion. The idea of red cap leadership is a failure. Like, it could be a failure in somebody's political... But here's the thing that I want players and characters and political factions to throw out as an idea for failure. The entire goddamn Changeling way. It failed. It was a way to inoculate ourselves against the banality of an approaching fall so we could survive it. We survived the fall. Great, it's winter now. Is it helping? No, we're all dying. So maybe the Changeling way is something that has to go, and everything is up for grabs.
And at that point, maybe you want to move to more like an anime, Selkie sort of model or something like that. Like there are other options besides the Changeling way in even the base game.
That's a good open question. I mean, that's the kind of thing you can hang a meta plot that runs all Chronicle on.
And it's one of those kind of questions that you can end a podcast on.
Well, the last thing I'll say about that, just to say, is a lot of people were saying, I don't know what I do in Changeling. I don't see where the Nights Tonight, where's the drama. I think if you just listen to the things we've talked about, there are so many conflicts in this beta slice that can be unpacked to hundreds of characters.
We've only talked about most of this. The overwhelming majority of this was pretty much just Sealy politics.
Yeah.
We've had some on Sealy politics. Some
we haven't touched barely the Shadow.
No,
like almost not at all. And on top of that, you also have the interaction with the real world and avoiding Bedlam and actually sort of being out and about and doing things that make the world better. There's almost a paradox of choice with Changeling, as that there's too much to do. What you do session to session, in my mind, has never been a legitimate question. There's just an absurd amount of things you can do. Problem is, sometimes that can go off.
Did we fall off?
Nope, you're also going.
Okay.
Maybe your phone did.
I'll cut him for saying the real word later.
I'm reminded, we're all nerds here, of the beginning of Season 3 of Babylon 5.
Deep cut.
The Babylon Project was our last best hope for peace. It failed.
Right. And now it becomes something greater, our last best hope for
victory.
Right.
And that is something that's going to be like that again, back to the conversation of the Changeling the BNS Changeling triad versus the APOC triad. The worm is the enemy. There is a fair estimation that the Shadow Court are right.
You can play unless the material later forbids it. The way I read the material now, there's no reason you can't play someone who thinks of themselves as being a white hat Shadow Court.
Yes.
Well, you can be the ideological villain. You can't be in Werewolf.
Yeah, ideological villains can't exist. Werewolf precludes ideological villains.
Is there anything in the is there anything in the beta slice that says that shadow courts are still secret?
No, they're not.
Well, there are some amongst some kiths. There are members who remain embedded within the Unseelie or the Seelie court, but the Shadow Court is out and proud.
They're literally running Concordia right now.
Yeah, like the Shadow Court came through, murdered the shit out of all the Seelie nobles that they needed to, and took power when winter happened.
Didn't the She have a Knight of the Long Knives once?
I don't think they used that name.
I think actually
Iron Knives.
Knight of Iron Knives. Yeah.
Long Knives is an APOC term.
No.
It's a historical
which is
one.
Right.
I mean,
Within our context.
No.
Okay.
The APOC one was actually a typo. I meant Knight of the I can't even get it right. Iron Knives. Yeah. I meant
hopefully
that.
APOC would call it like Knight of the Silver Knives or something. The
No.
Knight of the Long Knives is a very specific event.
Yeah. It was
So
Roman history.
And there's a more recent
the She did that themselves to consolidate power circa 1970, 60, somewhere in there. My timeline.
69. After 69, they come back after the moon landing.
Yeah, they come back after the moon landing. They're having a big battle over who's going to run the world now because they left and just came back.
Well, you're talking about the Accordance War.
Yeah, and the Accordance War, and there was a big flag of truce. We're all going to discuss it, and a bunch of trolls ended up dead.
Yeah.
A bunch of Commodore Lords ended up dead. And then it happened to a bunch of Seelie She. Yeah, don't cry for me, Argentina.
I will say the fact that the She do not have, hey, can you believe what they did? Trolls. Yeah, I can't believe they would do that. Long look.
What a terrible thing that would be. To just swoop in and murder a bunch of people and then take over. Strongest troll side eye
Because
possible.
that's the thing about the trolls. They gave up power to the She turned tail and ran, the She came back.
I love your not slanted view of the She.
For all of the viewers who are not intimately familiar with the setting, this is a biased take.
They turned tail and ran right around 1430. And it's like, oh, look, industrialism, deuces, bitches. And then they left. Meanwhile, the Red Caps are like, I'll find glamour and misery if I have to. And the Trolls are like, I can endure, and then we'll protect everybody behind us. Then they came back during the Summer of Love and the moon landing, and they demanded to be in charge again like a shitty dad who was gone for years, comes back when you're 18 and tries to take credit for the shit
I got
you've
you
done.
a stuffed animal.
I hate you terribly.
Are you still into stuffed animals?
Why won't you throw the ball
I
with
brought
me?
tacos.
Yeah. He went out for a pack of smokes
He
when
comes
you were
back at
12, and you come back
we're
at
doing
25.
14. He brought
years later.
tacos.
So, and
Then David gets not Excalibur.
and then bad things happen to him, and he's like, can you believe this familial disloyalty? And you're just like,
Let's wrap on that note, which I think is delightful. But the last thing I want to talk about, guys, is a lot of people come to watch us specifically because of our expertise in working through the crunch that has been said to us. We didn't get to any crunch this time at all.
this was all flavor.
Well, you got to be mean to keep them keen.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, we will get to it. And I like talking about that stuff because good mechanics make better gaming possible.
Then I have something for you.
I am not that person. I'm new to this.
Shut up, Avery. I've decided. So here's the thing. I'm going to ask all of you to come up with one thing you want to say about the crunch that you think would tantalize the viewers into watching the next session. Say one thing.
I want to talk about the possibilities behind chimerical death and the opportunities therein.
Oh, you took mine.
Damn it. It's the big one.
Yeah, it's pretty big.
Yeah,
that's...
Did I just take it away from everybody?
No, I've got one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go first.
Oh, okay. If you're looking at arts, you're wrong.
Oh, yeah.
It's realms.
It's definitely
Especially
Okay,
the new
you
ones.
took my second one.
So deal with it.
All right, cool. Brian, go ahead. Take my third.
I think mechanically the thing that we don't have yet.
Don't talk into your hand. Talk to the mic.
It's because I don't have an answer yet.
Talk sexily.
It's
You don't have to be
I'm
loud.
sorry.
You just have to be directionated.
I'm sorry. Haven't we all been talking about chimerical death amongst ourselves previous to being on this sort of thing? My big thing is going to be something that's not in the beta, but something which we might look for in the delta or whatever we're getting next.
You do have a big list of things you want.
It is Christmas.
Well, you could just say, there's a list of things I want.
There's
I
a
don't
list.
want to go.
There's a list of things I want. I'm gonna go with the legend versus everything else bias, or what some would call the Fostern problem.
Oh
in
yeah,
APOC.
the Fostern problem is a good topic. Actually, yeah.
I think that it's. I'm not saying like this is a problem. I'm saying there's going to be a solution for this, because there is nothing right now that incentivizes being a legend other than fluff.
Well,
I expect there to be some sort
don't they
of
have higher banality?
but they do.
That's
but
what you can talk about.
Oh,
That's your
I
thing.
mean, I do love banality. I think that the uses for banality, I'm glad to see them. I just think there needs to be even more.
Yeah.
Because the reason you want to get old and salty is so that you can just salt on other people.
Following from that, there's a lot of little things that can kind of go back and forth with both Bedlam and banality. That say that that whole rule of corruption of taint in APOC, which is just like, well, in the story that we've created, the Bitten have that little thing. There are a lot of factors in the dramatic systems that are already created that say, oh yeah, but if this is going on, you don't have that choice to not be pushed. You are going to become more banal. You are going to go deep into Bedlam. You're going to become a Dauntain, or if you forget yourself completely, an Autumn person.
And I think that's a great topic that we can definitely explore some more. So the last thing I have for you guys before I let you go is
Cold Iron Treasure?
No, we're gonna get to that next time. What day works for you guys? When do you guys want to do the next one?
I think we could probably go off mic for that because I have no idea.
Okay,
But I would like to say, do we want to do our traditional short round of Q&A? If anybody has any
fast.
Oh yeah.
just praise or reviews for what we talked about.
Realms. I can go into Realms real quick. Realms are easy to... the way it was described to me was...
While
I think,
he's
great.
talking, everybody, questions, please.
Yeah.
If you have any.
Realms is really easy to describe. If you've ever played Vampire, Obfuscate's a great example. Obfuscate's a power. It makes things hidden. What makes the levels of Obfuscate is what you can affect by hiding. Can you affect yourself when you're standing still? That's actor. Can you affect multiple people? That's scene. Can you affect multiple different kinds of supernaturals? Fan actor. Can you affect a giant inanimate object? Can you turn it on and off over time? The thing that makes Vampire Disciplines elder level and beyond is who they can affect.
Right.
So imagine, like, Fortitude was all self-focused until you got to some of the elder level Fortitudes where you can give it to other people. With the right amount of realms and the
do
right,
that off the bat.
you could just off the bat. Everybody around me has Fortitude 5.
Condition is my favorite realm because it lets you say it gives you a logic puzzle.
Oh yeah,
to the things
you can
you're
if then your powers.
You can if then your powers.
But it
and
opens
hang.
up the nightmare of contingency from
Yes.
D&D.
I will say this: realms are the rage track.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Realms are what makes because they're just a spoiler about arts. Many of the arts, like many of the gifts, like many of the disciplines, all have a lot of commonality, right? Realms don't. Realms let you break the fundamental rules of the game, and that's what makes Changeling magic.
Right.
Because it's like, oh, well, just simple one. That one, I think it's actor. You can just add another action against somebody. It's like, oh, you've already been hit twice physically? Well, you're fucking with Changeling, so you can get hit more.
Yeah.
You can get hit more.
And another
Second
mental.
mental.
And another social.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, those are good rules, and you've been safe for a while before the genre is introduced. But now you're way less safe. I'm just gonna break that
It wasn't
rule.
safe. You were comfortable.
You
got
yeah.
lazy. You got soft. That's what happened. You thought I can only be hit by a certain number of things.
It really-
and then this Looney Tunes bullshit just came out, and there goes your safety.
It's why Changelings are magical.
We have to
characters.
send that book to someone who's
I
been
have
waiting
like
for
7
a long
copies.
The other
really
thing
does.
the other thing I think is really interesting with that is the fact that Vampire becomes the vanilla. There's Vampire is the baseline for everything.
But that's always been true.
which has always been true, but even every other genre away from Vampire adds another twist, adds another turn.
Well, it has its own thing, and it also has been continuously refining the system. So the other thing is, I don't want to put too much pressure on the devs, but like, for example, influences and whatnot and downtimes just all got better when Werewolf came out because it just we're like, okay, there were a bunch of open issues. We're gonna now introduce like initiative and influence and a bunch of other things and downtimes, and it just expanded on it. That's a good thing. I mean, I hope every game that comes out makes all of the preceding games also richer.
In so much as they have to print all that stuff out again, they might as well make it better while they're at it.
I see a question that I want to answer, and then I want to expand from.
Go.
There was a question, Errol 1979, no, I'm sorry, which one? Vivo per Stilo. Can David Soul come back in a different sex? I don't see any reason why he couldn't.
Yeah.
Also, I want to ask the devs a question. I think I already know your answer. At least I hope I already know your answer. I know how I would run it if I was a storyteller. The idea of your seeming and yourself having to be the same gender, the same sex, the same presentation.
I didn't think that was ever required.
No, it's not. It's not. But I just want like
You're saying like being a I don't want to cheapen it, but like a trans changeling.
Yeah.
Like your seeming, my seeming is a
your seeming matches who
lady.
your seeming matches who you are, even
It
if
doesn't.
you're
I don't think it
physical-
ever have to.
No, it didn't ever have to, but I want to ensure that there's.
I
a
would love it if
continuation
that
of
was explicit. 'Cause I think that's awesome.
I want an explicit say so on that.
This is a real gimme to the writers. Just write that shit down. You're auto like woke as fuck. But also that's as far as I know has always been the case.
Also, there's a whole thing in regards to kind of tracking back to the satyrs. Everyone has 3 societies except for the satyrs. Satyrs have 4 because they have the legendary children, which are it's the New York City queer. And I don't want to. I'm not an expert on it, despite my own self. There's
your identities.
My own personal identities, but the legendary children are put in there as a satyr group, which sort of makes sense because they have to do with passion, but passion is not. It's not all about passion. There's aces and arrows, and there's so many other things, and it's like, this is who I am. It's not about being a party kid.
I mean, aces and arrows can be passionate about shit that like.
Right, it's different.
Okay.
I knew what do they call them? A summer-fall relationship that a friend of mine was in. He was gay with a much older man, and one of the things that he said was continuously like, inspiring is that he'd been through the bad times.
Right.
Probably in New York, in like that culture,
pre-Stonewall,
when the AIDS epidemic was huge and the community was decimated, and could talk about it, and I mean I'm old too, so the age difference wasn't actually that big, but that's part of that. It's not just about. There's a lot of stories there that go beyond just the puerile.
Right.
It's we're adults. You're required to be an adult to play the game. There's still a lot of there's I would say an infinite amount of stories to be told, and in a lot of different ways. I want to encourage that. I don't see any reason for exclusivity of any of this kind of stuff.
Exactly.
I think doubling back to one of my original points, which is why I want you to tone down the weird religious stuff and replace it with cryptids. Just Google it.
And yes, and Carthage must be destroyed. I got it. I'm hammering that one.
I think there's a lot of room there to play with. There's a lot of stories that can be explored.
Yeah,
it's not about, it's the satyrs who were in on the cool club scene in the 70s. It's like, she
brought the coke, fuckers.
Next question.
Right.
Brian, what is going to be the equivalent to the apocalypse breeding questions in this game? And what I think John means by that is, what is the question we're going to be getting all...
Can you make someone have a chrysalis?
Yeah, right. What is the question that everyone's going to be asking whoever is running this game all the time? Like, can you make somebody have a chrysalis? So that might be addressed. There might be some equivalent to bitten or something like that.
No, yeah. Well, I mean, like there was the Kinane, there was the people that the mortals that you would enchant to bring into the dreaming.
I like that mechanic.
I'm really curious. I'm really curious what the Kinane are going to look like. That is an unanswered question.
The Kinane are like the kinfolk.
I feel that fills the kinfolk and the bitten sort of rule. If there's some sort of mechanic to upgrade a Kinane, but I also don't.
There is that text in the Famine section.
Honestly, it's winter. I would honestly love to see them go darker. That's way too summertime. If you want to just like Frankenstein bolt in the neck somebody glamour. I want you to get a
Oh, we
Why
got.
are words
We'll
failing?
go into this when we talk about the ravaging and reaving and
Yeah. Well, it's
That's a perfect time to do that.
Oh, right, but I was just saying that we should get what's the term for wild Fomori? God damn it! There's Fomori, there's drones, and there's
The green court?
no, Brian. Fomori, drones, and
Gorgons.
Gorgons.
No. Fae is human Gorgons.
No. I know that, but I would like to see something way more like what a Gorgon is than the desired result of getting a changeling.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, congratulations, you've made an insane, wild, tainted human. That's gonna be. You want to talk about the kind of thing that just makes vines grow out of your face because it's completely out of control wild? That's what you get.
Nobody really wants vines growing out of their face.
They say they don't, and yet they love fairies.
Conversely, the opposite.
Okay, we could literally go all night, so I think
I have
maybe-
12 years of thoughts about this.
Yeah.
I know. We can keep going.
No.
Okay.
Any more interesting questions,
It's
Brian?
2:30, 9:30.
It's 9:15.
9:15.
Guys,
There's
it's
30s.
it's been a delight. This video is now 2 hours.
Yeah,
we will
it's
be
enough.
in touch, and we love you guys.
Yes,
and
we'll be back. Join the Facebook group. Well, look, we've never monetized any of this. We don't get anything. There's no fucking ads. We certainly don't pay for it.
We give
But
away shit, even
if
though
you-
there's a delay.
if you want to know when the next episode is, join the Talking About Werewolves Facebook group. If we ever become a member of any of the other big social media outlets, we'll let you know.
We want your feedback more than anything
Yes.
else.
this
And we're
being our
glad
first
to
show
have
in
it.
a year, I think we got a lot of ground to catch up on. Yeah,
Absolutely.
I could give a shit less about Werewolf. This is
I know.
really
I know.
this is about Changeling right now.
You can like more than one thing.
I physically can't. Only one thing at a time.
Guys, we're never going to be able to escape this unless I draw a hard line. So everybody, have a great night, and we will see you in the funny pages.
We love you guys.
Red cap.